What's up, San Diego?
San Diego, turn it up. From the dugout to the sidelines, from the front office to the fan in the stands, this is where San Diego sports comes to be heard.
College athletics is the gift that keeps on giving. This is why I love this stuff.
He's not just talking about the game, he's driving the conversation, breaking it down, calling it out, and saying what everyone else won't.
They start licking their chops, man, when they hear like, oh, look at all these guys the Padres could potentially trade.
This is the voice San Diego sports trusts on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
We're your favorite show.
This is the Braden Surprenant Show.
Think about the children, the family show.
Now, here's Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego? And a happy Monday to everybody out there in America's finest city. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Good to be talking with all of you today on a Monday after the Padres take 2 out of 3 from the Cleveland Guardians this weekend. And with that, still in a playoff spot, which is great to see. Unfortunately for the Padres, they did not get any help from the Minnesota Twins, who had a big lead on Philadelphia yesterday, and they could not hang on. And Philadelphia ends up sweeping Minnesota, which puts the Padres as the #6 team right now in the standings due to the fact that they are tied for the 5 spot with Philly. They, of course, would lose said tiebreaker. Padres remain 1 game in front of the Arizona Diamondbacks. They have a 3-game lead on Miami, 3.5-game lead on St. Louis. If you really think like the Pirates are still hanging around, they got a 6.5 lead against up on Pittsburgh in the standings. Cardinals did help the Padres out a little bit in terms of trying to track down maybe a home playoff game, as the Padres are now only 5 games behind Chicago in the standings. And surprisingly enough, it's not at that point yet, but it is starting to get a little closer. And I don't think they're going to continue to play like that. But the Dodgers continue to struggle. That lead is now down to 7 games in the National League West. Dodgers lost the 3 out of 4 to Milwaukee over the weekend. The Padres take a 2 out of 3, picks up a couple of games in the standings. So now LA leads San Diego by 7 games. They lead Arizona by 8 as the Padres and Diamondbacks start to put maybe a little pressure on LA. Now, that being said, they have Colorado this week. So I would imagine that their poor style of play will start getting a little bit better in the next couple of days or so. In terms of games going on this week that you need to pay attention to, the Padres will take on the Mets beginning tonight for a 3-game series against New York. New York has won, I think, 9 of the last 12, if I'm not mistaken. They're on a little bit of a heater right now in the second half of the season. Games to watch for: Arizona is taking on Boston in Boston. The Red Sox have come back down to earth after what was an impeccable winning streak in the heart of the summer. They have not been good as of late. The Red Sox have now put themselves in a position where they only have a 5-game lead in the wild card. They are benefiting in the American League from the fact that the final wild card spot is 2 games under 500 right now in the Baltimore Orioles, and they got a 5-game lead on Baltimore, but they've lost 7 out of the last 10 games the Red Sox have. So Diamondbacks might be getting Boston at the right time. The other matchup that you really want to pay attention to starting tonight, Miami and Philadelphia. The Marlins, the last time these two teams played, swept Philly in Miami. Are they going to have the ability to do that at Citizens Bank Park? That will remain to be seen. They have Christopher Sanchez going tonight for Philadelphia against Jansen Junk. So that would be a big matchup again for the Padres in terms of paying attention to what's going on in the National League wildcard standings. Now, the White Sox will take on the Cubs. That's something else to monitor, as well as the Dodgers and the Rockies. But you're 5 games behind Chicago. You're 7 behind LA. Maybe you throw it on later on this evening if the Padres do, in fact, beat the Mets at 4 o'clock, coming up later on this afternoon. But I thought the Padres over the weekend, again, took care of business, again, put together, a great showing, against the team that they should have. And, Saturday didn't really go their way, but obviously you're not going to play the best of baseball all the time. I thought the Padres at this point need to have the mindset of, we're taking 2 out of 3 every single week. We're going to try to take 2 out of 3 every single series. That's kind of where you want to see this team. And we've talked about this a lot, but takeaway number 1 from the weekend, the Padres are the team we expected to see them when we saw them in April. I mean, the offense has finally started producing some pop. The stars are producing across the board. The rotation now actually looking like a rotation that can win you games in the playoffs, showing that depth with the way that Casey Mize pitched yesterday of 6 shutout innings. The bullpen is being managed. They're now using guys in different roles, and we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Obviously, with Mason Miller not getting too much action over the weekend. The bench is contributing, getting guys like Jace Bowen having a day yesterday. So you're getting a lot of different contributions across the roster, and this looks a lot more like a complete roster. This is finally starting to look like a complete team for the San Diego Padres. Casey Mize is a potential swing factor for this team. I mean, the Padres don't need him to be a Cy Young candidate. They just need to get him 6. They just need him to give them 6 innings, 3 runs or fewer, and a chance to win. That would be a quality start. The Padres haven't had too many of those this year, but it's great that you got to see Casey Mize not only bounce back in his outing after his first outing in San Diego, when he got lit up by the Diamondbacks, he bounced back, and now he's adding to that. 6 innings, shutout ball, only gave up 3 hits. He was on fire. He was great yesterday for the starting pitching. Great to get things started for the Padres. And that was after a long, lengthy rain delay. So he kept himself fresh. Obviously, I thought he looked pretty good. That's a big takeaway from yesterday's game and from the weekend. Home runs have changed this Padres offensive identity. The team spent months relying on singles and doubles. Now they're hitting the ball over the fence, which makes the inconsistent offense that they have had a lot more dangerous because they can score, 3 runs with 1 swing of the bat. They don't need a bunch of hits strung together. But I think the other thing too about this team with the offense and the way that they've been able to hit home runs now as of late, it just adds another form of this team and how they can win. It forms another weapon in their arsenal, if you will, on finding ways to win games. And I think that's very important for this team as they try to be the most complete Padres team they can. I mean, if you just look at their numbers from the beginning of the season through July 18th and July 19th through Sunday, which is the last 27 games in basically second half Padre baseball, they went from being last in almost every category to first in almost every category. This is a different baseball team. If you look at their average in Major League Baseball before all their All-Star break numbers, 30th in average, tied for 29th in on-base percentage, 29th in slugging, 30th in OPS, 30th in runs per game, and tied for 22nd in home runs per game. Since the All-Star break, the Padres are first in batting average, first in on-base percentage, first in slugging percentage, first in OPS, third in runs per game, second in home runs per game. I mean, just a complete shift from what this team was at the beginning part of the season, which I think leads to an interesting conversation that we're going to have in just a little bit about the offense finally being built for October. Don't overlook how great Fernando and Jackson Merrill have been. I mean, the supporting cast has improved a lot. And if they continue to improve as Fernando and Merrill simultaneously play like stars, Padres have a much higher ceiling, I think, this season than what we did about a couple of weeks ago. I mean, you don't want to face a lineup in October where the top guys are rolling in the bottom half can punish you, and we're starting to see that out of this baseball team, and that's big reason why this baseball team has led offensive categories across the board. It's a big reason why this baseball team, is now a threat to make some noise in October. The bullpen looks like right now, I think some of the roles might be changing a little bit, and we'll talk about that later on the hour. I think Mason Miller's workload is worth monitoring right now. Just because, I know he was fresh in the middle innings or the middle months of the year because of the fact that he wasn't being used too much. But if you start looking at what this Padres bullpen is and what they're able to do with the bullpen, but more importantly, what Mason Miller has done this year. I mean, Mason Miller has pitched pretty close to his career high in innings. He's only 13 2/3 innings away from matching his career high. Morahone is 7 1/3 innings away from matching his career high. And the Padres have relied heavily on that 1-2 punch. I feel like you really need to have those guys more in October than anything else. So that leads to an interesting conversation on how you manage this bullpen. And I think that's a big reason why Bradgley Rodriguez came in to work a save over the weekend. So the bullpen needs to be preserved a little bit, and we'll talk more about that later on in the show. But right now, Frank, this is a team that seems to be firing on all cylinders. This is a team that seems to be, continuing to stay pace with everybody else in the National League wildcard standings. They've gained some ground in the division, which I still think is further along, but that number continues to shrink. This is a team that looks way different than they did before the trade deadline, before the All-Star break, and a lot of the contribution, a lot of the changes. Yes, you added Casey Mize and Robbie Ray. They've been okay. They haven't necessarily carried this team. The biggest thing was getting your players that you believed in and believe could have good years, get them going and finally being the players that you would expect them to be. And this is a way different team than they were for the first 3 months of the year.
No, it absolutely is. And this is the first time in seemingly a month that Robbie Ray is going to get a start outside of Petco Park in Citi Field. Casey Mize did exactly what I thought he was going to do against a familiar opponent. He looked great. He was back to his normal self, 6 innings. What do you have? 3 hits allowed, no runs. So he was fantastic, and this offense is starting to click the way we knew it could. And that's what was the most frustrating about April, May, and June, was that this offense was capable of so much more. We know that all of these guys were playing under their potential going into the All-Star break, and now that we're seeing it, that's what we've been waiting for all season long, is for these guys to start hitting, start playing the way that we know that they're capable of. We're not asking for Jackson Merrill to go out there and hit 40 home runs. What he's done so far is above and beyond what we could have expected as far as home runs, but just play like your normal self. That's all we asked for, and now we're starting to see it, and it's paying off.
The other thing, too, there's a couple of different areas that we haven't talked about with this team that I think are going to help them out, either getting to October or then winning in October. One of them is the Padres are dominating teams that they're supposed to beat, which for how many years has that been like not the right
too many
answer, right? And I think they've played down to level of competition. Look, like they did not do well against Kansas City to start the second half. They have had issues with some of the bad teams. Like, that's not going to say that they're always going to win a series against bad teams, but yesterday was the beginning of 4 series in a row against teams with a losing record. And, they took 2 out of 3 from Cleveland. After that, after the win yesterday, the Padres are now 39-22 against sub 500 teams this year. That's the second best record in Major League Baseball against those teams, by the way. And now, after the game, like I said, the 3 games against Cleveland, they have started the stretch against 4 consecutive teams with losing records. They got the Mets coming up the next 3 days. Then they come back home to San Diego. They play the Twins and the Pirates. And out of this group right now, the only team that is the exception in terms of current form are the New York Mets, who have won 9 of their last 12. But the broader point of this conversation remains: good teams have to take care of business against lesser opponents. Padres have done that this year. Padres have a very favorable schedule in the next couple of weeks. I think this is a recipe for success for them to climb back into the standings and maybe make a run at some of the teams that are seem like so distant in front of them. I think this is a way that the Padres can distance themselves from Arizona, from Philadelphia, but also put a little pressure on Chicago and LA. They still have a big enough lead on the Padres where they're not worried about them yet, but you're within 5 games of Chicago now, Frank, and you've pulled in 7 of LA. If you look at the standings in a couple of weeks and that says like 3 games and 5 games, all of a sudden it's game on in the final month of the year.
Right now, your biggest point of focus is just keeping this momentum going. It's one thing to have a heater. It's one thing to go on a nice little run. you want to make sure that is genuinely what it is, a nice little run instead of just peaking too early. So right now you're just focused on sustaining that run for as long as you possibly can, and then start worrying about Chicago, who you're still 5 games behind. Then you start worrying about the Dodgers, who you're still 7 games behind. So there's certainly reason to be excited as far as moving up in the wild card and moving up in the division. But right now, just got to keep a level head and just focus on day to day for right now. And then once that draws closer, then start worrying about that.
The next thing on this that I wanted to talk about, because I find it interesting, there's a couple different things. I mean, the Padres are playing like a playoff team right now, 17-5 since July 24th, best record in baseball during that stretch. They've jumped 3 teams in the playoff race. They're now sitting in the final playoff position. Their .633 win percentage post All-Star game since 2024 is the best in Major League Baseball. Nobody has played better baseball in the second half of a season in the last 3 years in the San Diego Padres. Is that a sustained pattern? Is that something that they can continue for the rest of this year? Is that a coincidence? I mean, I think it's worth noting that they're now doing this a third year in a row with 2 different managers, by the way. Maybe that's just what this team's about. I think it puts them in a position of like, you know what, if you took care of business in the first half of the year, you wouldn't have to do this all the time in the second half. But they seem to just do very well post All-Star break, where it's almost like they just turn it on and they get ready to go. I personally don't think that's the best way to win, but you know what? It's worked for the Padres the last couple of years. Who am I to say it doesn't work?
It's almost like they're pacing themselves is what it feels like. You try to just hover around 500 as much as you can, and then when it really matters the most, that's when you turn it on. So, I mean, I agree with you. It's not the greatest way to go about things, but you can't deny the results. It's certainly working.
The last thing too, and I think it leads into our next conversation. I think there's an underlying detail about this offense, and I think it goes to the question, Frank, that you mentioned about like, are we watching a hot Padres team, or is this the team the Padres were supposed to be all along? And I think that leads to is this San Diego Padres offense finally built for October? I have some reasons of why they are, and there's an underlying stat that I think a lot of people haven't paid attention to that shows you that this offense is here to stay. But we'll talk about that when we come back. Just getting started on the Braden Surprenant Show. Shout out to Trav Gundy in the YouTube chat. Happy birthday, buddy. Appreciate you making your birthday our day a part of your day. Happy birthday to you. When we come back, we'll talk about the Padres' underlying stat, where they've actually done very well and why they could be good in October when we come back. Little Zach Top on a Monday. Coming to town September 17th. I'll be there. I bought tickets way before we were handing out tickets. Zach Top, Pechanga Arena. Should be a good time. Anyway. 833-288-973. 833-288-973. If you want to join the show today, Padres playing really good baseball. Again, take it 2 out of 3. Trying to be able to stay pace with the rest of the National League, maybe gain some ground in National League. But I just I think a lot of people, Frank, forget how baseball works for the full season. Did you see the tweet we got?
Yeah.
It's there's not one team in Major League Baseball, buddy, that's actually thinking we're going in for a sweep. We're going in for a sweep. We're going in for a sweep. Nobody's doing that. Everybody's looking to go 2 out of 3. It's a hard game to play. A lot of weird things happen in these games. They're not trying to win every single game. Not even the best teams in Major League Baseball are trying to win every single game. There's 162 of these things. I don't know how many times we have to give that PSA. You might have to make a disclaimer for the YouTube stream, Frank, on that. Trying to go for a sweep every time. Yeah, you can't guarantee a sweep. It's so hard. It's almost impossible. It's you got to play extremely well to sweep a team in Major League Baseball. As Brian Lawrence said, every one of these teams is good. Everybody's good. Anyway, 833-288-973, 833-288-973. We're going to get to some college football later today. We have the AP poll came out today. How about that? AP top 25. There were so many of the teams last year that didn't finish in the top 25 after being ranked in the top 25. Crazy. It's not surprising, though. You get to see everybody's rankings now, too, which is kind of cool. You get to see everybody's deal. Did you see RJ Young put out his rankings for the college football top 25?
I did.
Or no, not really. He hit the top 138. He just ranked every single team.
I did see that. I was very interested in who was number 26.
That was ridiculous. North Dakota State? Are you kidding me? You're telling me North Dakota State goes into Clemson and wins?
No.
No. Hell no. They got that. He's a guy that definitely doesn't watch any football on the West Coast. He's got San Diego State at 113. You know what else he's got? I don't think Washington State's going to be good, but he's got Washington State at 135. He's got Sac State ranked above Stanford and Oregon State. Just admit, dude, you don't watch any of the group of 5, group of 6 teams. There's a run where he's got 3 or 4 Conference USA teams in a row. He just lists oh, I got to put these teams in here. Ridiculous. All right, we got news from the Padres. We have finally gotten the official wording from Major League Baseball. The Padres had just put this out. Major League Baseball owners have unanimously approved Kwanzaa Jones and Jose E. Feliciano as new owners of the San Diego Padres. Here's the official statement from the Padres. San Diego Padres today announced that Major League Baseball and its owners have unanimously approved the transfer of control of the franchise to new ownership group led by Kwanzaa Jones and Jose E. Feliciano, who will jointly lead the club's ownership group and long-term stewardship. Feliciano has been designated as the Padres control person in accordance with MLB governance requirements. The Padres will continue to be led day-to-day by Chief Executive Officer Eric Grupner and President of Baseball Operations and General Manager A.J. Preller. The closing of the transaction and ownership transition is scheduled to occur in the coming days, and a media advisory will follow with the date and time for a press conference at Petco Park introducing the new owners. So there you go. They have been approved by Major League Baseball. That was basically a formality at this point. And I'm pretty sure Kevin Acee alluded to that. in his daily newsletter. The vetting process has gone through. If there were any problems, they wouldn't have made it this far to begin with. So overall, not really surprised. I'm sure now it's just, terms of like signing paperwork and dotting I's and crossing T's. And it sounds like they should be, maybe having a press conference in the next couple of days or so to announce them as the new owners of the San Diego Padres. And now the new era of Padre baseball will begin with the new owners now being officially approved by Major League Baseball unanimously. I'm not overly surprised by that. I mean, at this point, like what owner would have voted no for this?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like just to vote no, just to say they voted no. I'm not surprised that it's unanimous. It sounded like this thing was going to go smooth, and now you have brand new owners. But I think at this point it was just a formality. There's not much more to really talk about.
No, I mean, this is the expected result. And I think, again, this kind of follows the timeline that we had expected. And from what reports had said, the Padres kind of did this out of order where they announced it before it was approved. And normally that's not how it goes. Not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just the way it was done this time, which made the process seem a lot longer than it actually was. So, I mean, this was actually done quite quickly because, again, you look back at the Baltimore Orioles ownership, that took about a year and a half before that one went through. And this went through during the season. Like, it took half the season to get this one done. So I'm sure people may not be all that happy with the timing coming just after the trade deadline. Get over it. I mean, that's just the way it is.
And it didn't really impact anything.
No.
They've been in close contact with, the current front office. They were in contact, during the trade deadline as the reports came out. I mean, there's obviously a lot of communication that needs to be done between what was the current ownership and the new ownership about anything that involves payroll and money and things like that. So it's not overly surprising. I don't think I think if you're sitting here looking at this, like, well, if this happened by the trade deadline, they would have spent more money. I don't really think that's the case. So now a lot of people are probably going to be like, all right, cool. Like, go extend Morejon in France and spend a lot of money. I don't think you're going to really fully see, what this ownership group wants to do or what they want to really accomplish with this organization. Until you'll hear them publicly for the first time in some sort of press conference whenever all of that stuff gets taken care of. And again, as we mentioned by the press release today, it sounds like the closing of the transaction and ownership transition will happen over the next coming days. The Padres, I believe, have Thursday off. Do they not? Right? They have Thursday off?
Yes, Thursday traveling back here before.
So I wouldn't be surprised if, maybe Thursday is one of those days, if it's going to take a couple of days. But, it's going to be interesting to see what both of them say. And as new owners of this organization. But it sounds like, Kwanzaa Jones and Jose Feliciano are going to run this team together. Major League Baseball just needs one control person in terms of like the meetings and everything, which Jose Feliciano will be that person. But other than that, they're going to be running this team together. And until you start seeing what they do, you're not going to be able to guess what you think is going to happen. I think a lot of people just assume that, based on the capital they have and why they would be interested in paying for the Padres and the amount of money they spend on the Padres, that they're going to make all these big moves and big signings and splashes. You won't really know until they, one, meet with the media, and two, start actually doing a lot of things that they have to do as owners of the new franchise. So that's the breaking news that we got. Kwanzaa Jones, Jose Feliciano have been unanimously approved as new owners of the Padres. This was a vote that was a formality. In the next couple of days, they will be finalizing the closing of the transaction and ownership transition, and we'll be on the alert for a date and time for a press conference at Petco Park that introduced the new owners. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We're going to go back into the Padres offense. When we come back, an interesting stat that shows that they are a playoff caliber offense to stay and not a team on a hot streak. We'll tell you what that stat is when we return. We are broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios. We know how. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. If you're just tuning in, we got official word from the San Diego Padres about the MLB owners unanimously approving Kwanzaa Jones and Jose E. Feliciano as new owners of the San Diego Padres. The Padres announced that Major League Baseball and its owners have unanimously approved the transfer of control of the franchise to a new ownership group led by Kwanzaa Jones and Jose E. Feliciano, who will jointly lead the club's ownership group and long-term stewardship. Feliciano has been designated as the Padres control person in accordance with Major League Baseball governance requirements. Padres will continue to be led day to day by Chief Executive Officer Eric Grupner and President of Baseball Operations and General Manager AJ Preller. The closing of the transaction and the ownership transition is scheduled to occur in the coming days, and a media advisory will follow with the date and time for a press conference at Petco Park introducing the new Padres owners. That was the breaking news we got last segment. And continue the conversation. Obviously, this is big news for the Padres on a couple of, different fronts. I mean, obviously, one of them being, you have now, by the end of the week, we'll say, couple of days, we'll see when it becomes official, even though it's, just a couple of more formalities need to happen for this to be the case. You have now some people that have bought this team that want to control what this team does, that have experience owning professional sports franchises, that got the money to do it and make this an impact. After we lost Peter Seidler, it was kind of like the Padres didn't have that one person that just really wanted to take over the team and really wanted to make it their own and really wanted to just, own the team. And I think by the Padres' previous ownership group selling it to to the new group in Kwanzaa Jones and Jose E. Feliciano, it gives you an opportunity to have, some people that really want to run this team and really want to see what this team could be. And they're going to treat it like, their own. I think that's great news, obviously, for the Padres to get exactly what, they were kind of getting with Peter Seidler, right? In wanting the Padres to be relevant Major League Baseball. And so I think the interesting portion of this is, what would you like to see the new ownership group do as their big first move? And if you want to join the show, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Give us a phone call. Let us know what you want the new ownership group to do when they take over. It could be a lot of different things. But for me, I feel like, and I'm not really worried about this new ownership group not doing this, but, I think it's great to be able to tell fans that you're in this to win. You're not in this just to own an asset. And I think you're getting less and less owners like that buy teams now, because the amount of money it costs to buy these teams, you have to be really involved with trying to make the team successful. And it's kind of a toy. Those are the people that can afford professional sports franchises now. And Kwanzaa Jones and Jose Feliciano are going to own 40% of this team. It is the majority of the ownership group. But I think, to me, even though I expect them to kind of do this, I want this new ownership group to, I don't necessarily think it's a have to extend Adrian Morejon, have to extend Ty France. I don't think it's any of that. I just think it needs to be, we're here to commit to winning, and we're going to do whatever it takes to maybe add payroll, to maybe make trades, to make bold moves, to invest in this roster and make it as complete of a team as possible. And I think a lot of that is up in the air just based on the fact that you have labor negotiations coming up, throughout this offseason. But I think the big first move for them should just be announcing, we're here to do well, and we're here to win divisions, and we're here to, spend the money we need to spend in order to have the talent that we have, and whatever facet that may be. I think that's what the message needs to be day one of this new ownership group. Would it be great if they extended Adrian Morejon? Yeah, but I would rather have what I said of just be like, we're committed to winning, seeing them, maybe sign a couple of good free agents in free agency, making the bold trades, letting AJ Preller do what he needs to do, to build the best team he possibly can. Because the last couple of years, obviously due to budgetary reasons, they've been a little restricted, but I'd kind of like to see this new ownership group, start things out with a splash and let AJ Preller build the team he needs to build right now, especially when it comes to starting pitching going into next year. I think that needs to be the first bold move that this organization makes, and that commitment to we're going to let our organization, our people in the player department go out there and assemble the best team they possibly can. And basically, I don't know, it would be nice for them to have a blank check. I know they have to be responsible with this, but to put everything they possibly can into this organization. And that's to say, not to say that the previous ownership did not do that, because I think you're seeing just how talented this team is that has been assembled by the previous ownership, and how they've been able to invest in winning, and being able to make the playoffs. Almost if they make the playoffs this year, it'd be 3 years in a row, the first time in franchise history. But, to me, Frank, it's the big first move needs to be their approach, I think, for supporting this roster and trying to make it the best as possible.
Yes.
But then they have to act on it after the fact, and they obviously can't do that until the offseason starts.
Right. And talking about salary cap and salary floor, we went and looked at it after the report was reintroduced of what Major League Baseball's salary cap and salary floor were. The Padres are third. Don't expect things to stay where they are with the $245 million cap. But the Padres are $31 million under that right now. So they have $31 million to play with, technically, figuratively, before they even hit that potential cap number. And I think everyone has a feeling that cap number is going to go up. So if you're worried about the cap, they do still have some money to play with to sign either one big guy or a number of others. But that, I think, is going to be the most important thing, which is that commitment to winning. And I think with the players that they have on roster, kind of force that hand where you kind of have to commit to at least putting out a winning team. I'm sure there's going to be a couple of big hires, but I think at least at the beginning, a lot of the changes usually and things like this are going to be made behind the scenes before you start seeing the new ownership product out on the field.
I just here's my thing on the Morejon Ty France situation. I think, Frank, we as Padres fans get attached to some players sometimes and go, we have to have this guy in the future. I don't necessarily think signing Ty France to an extension is something that's going to be guaranteed making this team better over the next 3 years. I am not necessarily in the case either that Adrian Morejon at what he could potentially get on the open market and signing him to that to be a setup man is necessarily the right approach. So for me, I just let's throw those names out for a second. They need to make some signings where they spend that kind of money on the right people. And I don't necessarily think it's Morejon or Ty France automatically. I wouldn't be upset if Morejon was still a Padre next year. I wouldn't be upset if they found a way to bring Ty France back. But I just think right now it's easy on the extension because those guys are leaving at the end of the year and they've done a good job this season. I think it needs to be more, go get that impact arm that can help you out in the back end of the bullpen. Go get that impact arm that can actually solidify this rotation, not being afraid to make a big splash, if you will. But, I'm sure when they meet with the media, which it sounds like is going to be on Monday, a week from today, as we tweeted out on our on the 97.3 The Fan account when we got the information about it. But it sounds like, in a week from today, we will get to hear them for the first time. And, I think they're going to say a lot of the same stuff that we've heard over and over again. I just would like to see the actions back it up. Not to say that won't be the case, but we're going to have to be patient on it, because there's nothing that they can do over the course of the next couple of weeks that's going to change really anything. I would imagine most of the changes that they can start making will not happen until at the conclusion of this season, whatever it may be, which I think makes it exciting going into the offseason now, knowing that, you need starting pitching next year. You need maybe a DH bat. You need, some, help in the bullpen. Maybe you need a corner outfielder. And, I think the excitement here, Frank, is maybe they can actually go sign an experienced veteran on a 1-year deal, or go get a good player in a spot and not have to take chances anymore on the scrap heap. And I think that's what's making it even more exciting for Padres fans. You got AJ Preller. He's still staying here as the general manager. Maybe give him a little bit extra funds and see what he can come up with going into next season. I think that is what makes this even more exciting.
And I'm looking through like some of the guys who are impending free agents. Bo Bichette is on an option. Corbin Burns is on an option. Of course, we all know Tarek Skubal is going to draw the most intrigue. Sonny Gray is a free agent. Michael King, George Springer, Robbie Ray, Shota Imanaga is going to be a free agent. So is Brandon Woodruff, Gleyber Torres, Ian Happ is going to be a free agent. Tatsuya Imai is on an option. Reese Hoskins, potentially. Seiya Suzuki, Randy Arozarena, Eugenio Suarez. There are a lot of names here that would, I'm sure, be of some sort of interest. This will never happen, but Ronald Acuna Jr. is on a club option. If the Braves somehow, some way don't pick that up, as team friendly as it is. So there are a lot of guys out there that can fill holes and fill needs that the Padres may be losing now because of free agency. And now that you presumably have more money that you can play around with, that opens up a lot of doors here for this team this offseason.
So our official 97 through the fan account tweets out that Kwanzaa Jones and Jose Feliciano will hold a press conference next Monday, the 24th at 1 p.m. We will carry it live and commercial free during our show. So the last hour of our show coming up next week should be a interesting day, to say the least. I'm sure we're going to get more information on this as it comes out. Do want to get your phone calls on this, although 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. What do you want to see the new ownership group do as their big first move as being new owners of the San Diego Padres? We do have time for a couple here, and then we'll get more on the other end. Let's get out to John in Valley Center. John, what's going on?
Oh, hi there. Yeah, I wanted to weigh in about, you guys were talking about Ty France not necessarily being important for this team next year. And I can't disagree more. In my opinion, he's their MVP this year. I mean, you can say Tatis is, but when you look at France has done for them, he's our first legitimate first baseman I can remember. And, with the Gold Glove, he's got the bat. I mean, his WAR is third on the team. Tatis, Merrill, and then France. I mean, he wants to be here. He's an Aztec guy. He's a gamer. I love the man. We need to keep him.
I don't disagree with you, John, but I will say this, he's got his own track record of what he is. He's 31 years old. You're going to need to give him a 3 or 4 year deal in order to keep him here in San Diego, and you're going to have to pay him more than $10 million a year probably. Are you willing to do, is that something that's willing to get you, is that how much he is worth to this Padres team? Are you willing to have him, in his last 2 years not be as good as those years? I mean, we're talking about a player that was on 3 different teams in the last 2 years, who got DFA'd a couple of times. I mean, he's good, but if you could bring him back for, something cheaper, it would be great. But I don't necessarily think he's getting this sweetheart deal. People just assume that, but Ryan O'Hearn got a lot more money than we thought he was going to get to play in Pittsburgh. you are what somebody is willing to pay for. And
Right.
we might not think that's a lot of money, but there could be a team that does. And like I don't see him getting a small market deal or small size deal when like we've seen guys like this sign after big years for a lot more money, than what the Padres would probably like to pay for this guy. This happens every year. Every season there's one guy that has a great year and we're too afraid to be like, thanks for the memories. And then you have these contracts that you can't pay for. And then it goes, oh, why did we sign this guy? This guy stinks. I think you have to understand, like, is he capable of doing this for more than just one season? I mean, he's having a career year. That's fantastic. I don't know if he could keep it up for the next 3 or 4 years. 833-288-973, 833-288-973. Continue your phone calls when we come back. 11 o'clock on a Monday. Padres baseball coming at you later on this afternoon. Padres will be in New York to take on the Mets.
What is everyone doing here so early?
The game's at 4.
It's 11. It's 5 hours. Sam's here.
Sam shows up way too early for a lot of things.
He's usually here like 2 hours before pregame, an hour before pregame. It's not 5.
I'm surprised he's here so early after like the day yesterday he had.
He
was here all day yesterday. The pregame show started at 9:40. They didn't start that game till 1:50. I know he probably wasn't on the air the entire time, but still, that's a long time. And then he'd go to the game and then the post game. Yeah, he wants to tap the glass. Careful there. I want to make this clear before we dive any further. And again, all of our guests join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not big banking, it's better. We're going to get to the Padres offense a little bit. But the big breaking news was that Kwanzaa Jones and Jose E. Feliciano has been approved by Major League Baseball on unanimous decision by the owners. So let's talk about this. What would you want to do? I think a lot of people say, like, extend Ty France. I want to make this clear because I don't think people are understanding me. If you got Ty France's production he's putting together this year, guaranteed for the next couple of years, there, like, he's just staring now. Sam walked by just staring at you. That was creepy. If you think you're going to get this type of production at Ty France for the next 3 years or 2 years with an option, like 3 years, then yes, absolutely. Like, yeah, of course, I'd love to have this production kind of back. But like, we're talking about a almost career year for Ty France going back to when he was an all-star in 2022 when he was 27 years old. He turns 32 next year. Last season he hit 7 home runs. The season before that he hit 13. Season before that he hit 12. This year he's got 17. I mean, it's just way different, right? Like, his numbers just jump off the page. Last year, he hit 257. The year before that, he hit 234. In Seattle, when he was 28 years old, he hit 250. He's hitting 291 this year. He's always been a high average guy. His OPS numbers, last year, 681. The year before that, 670. In 2023, when he was 28 years old, it was 703. It's 863 now. He's going to get a decent contract. Teams overpay for players all the time that have great years. Dumb teams do that all the time. You're going to have to pay a decent amount of money to keep this guy. I think people assume that it's not going to cost a ton of money. I mean, we're talking about a guy, Frank, that nobody wanted. The Padres signed to a minor league deal. And he made the team. He's having a great year. It's awesome. I just think with the amount of times, here's why I have to say this now. With the amount of times people bitch to us about contracts and long-term contracts, it's amazing how many contracts those same people want to hand out at the end of every single season. Sometimes you got to just say, thanks for the memories. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what Ty France gets. If you could pay him under $10 million a year, I'd take him. Absolutely. Would you pay him $15 million a year? I don't think so. I would be reluctant to pay him what you're paying Jake Cronenworth. Would you pay him Jake Cronenworth's contract over 2 years, 3 years?
No.
I wouldn't.
I would not.
How much would you give Ty France? $8 million?
I would say between 5 and 8, yeah.
Yeah. Does he sign for that?
No.
No way.
Not off of this season.
I don't think so. No, this is his only time to strike. This is his only time to really strike. But I don't want to give him more than $8 to $12 million a year. Not when I could be using that for like pitching and stuff, but like, where are you going to play him too? I mean, you have Jake Cronenworth under contract. Everybody wants to move Xander Bogaerts at a shortstop. I mean, like, you're kind of pigeonholed to this thing. I just, as much as you think that would be like the big thing that somebody wants to see, like, oh, new ownership, like sign Ty France. I just like, I feel like you would have to justify it by like giving him a deal that's like filled with incentives. I'm not necessarily sure he wants to do that. Not when there's guaranteed money on the table potentially. He could say he loves San Diego all he wants, but if Pittsburgh calls and is willing to give him like 12 a year, 13 a year for a 2-year deal, he's probably going to go there, guys. Like, that's just kind of how this works. I mean, especially with the season that he is having. So I get it. Yeah, he's having a great year. I'd love to see him do this for the next 2 or 3 years in a Padres uniform. I'd love to sit here and be like, he's the Padre first baseman of the future, Gold Glove Award winner from a year ago. But his OPS plus is the highest it's ever been in his career. His WAR probably at the end of the season will be the highest that it's ever been in his career. And it probably would be even higher if he started every day at the beginning of the season, but he didn't. I mean, he's only played 99 games this season. I mean, this is literally the best he has ever done in his career outside of 2020, in which he played in 43 games. His best year was 2021, when he played in 152 games, had a 291 average, which is what he's hitting now, with an 813 OPS, which is close to what he has now at 863. He had a 128 OPS plus. I mean, again, career year. Some team like Kansas City or Pittsburgh or Minnesota, who already had him, or Cincinnati this will be their big sign that they have, and they'll slightly overpay for a guy like Ty France because they don't have the opportunity to sign like the top free agents, and this will be their quote big splash, like Pittsburgh's was Ryan O'Hearn, and they'll slightly overpay for a guy like Ty France, and they'll pay a level that you wouldn't want to pay for him to stay on the team. Like, he's not taking a discount. These players don't take discounts. Like, again,
especially with everything going on around this offseason, they ain't taking any discounts.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Especially if they sign before the CBA runs out, which there's no shot. They are trying to cash in now because they know that this is most likely their last chance to do so.
But again, I think if you signed him to a 3-year deal, like somebody in the SD Mike in the YouTube chat, if you signed him for a 3-year, $36 million contract, you would be paying him for what he has accomplished and not what he's going to do over the next couple of years. But that's the risk you take. Like, I would just rather invest that money in other areas. Morejon's going to cost the same amount of money. He's going to cost like $13 to $14 million a year. He is going to get offered money that is closer type money. Somebody is going to pay him to be their closer. Are you willing to pay him closer type money to be your setup guy? I guess if you're not paying Mason Miller a whole lot because he's in arbitration, you can roll with that. But I'm just saying, again, it's easy to sit here and be like, just re-sign this guy. But you have to understand what you're not getting back. And maybe the new ownership group is able to do this. Who knows? Maybe they just write blank checks. That would be fantastic, but I don't necessarily know it's going to be the case. So Dennis Lynn had an article about this today, just on the breaking news. And, they had some, pretty sure some statements, from both. Here's what it is. All right. So, this is what the team issued statement from the Padres. They have some comments from Rob Manfred, and then they have some comments from Jose Feliciano and Kwanzaa Jones. Expect a news conference introducing the two next Monday, as we talked about. But, quote, we are a family first, and becoming owners of the San Diego Padres means joining an even larger one, Feliciano and Jones said in the Padres statement. We are grateful to the Seidler family and especially to Peter for raising the expectation of what this franchise can achieve. We have built our life and our work together, and we will bring that same shared purpose, commitment, and determination to our stewardship of the Padres. Quote, our ambition is clear to bring a World Series championship to San Diego and build an enduring organization capable of competing for championships year after year. We intend to be engaged owners, bringing our energy, experience, and perspective while working alongside the talented team already in place and investing ambitiously and thoughtfully in the Padres' future. Interesting group, of course. They will the ownership group will include Padres minority owner Alfredo Harpelou, who's already been part of this organization. He is going to be increasing his investment into this team. Joey and Jesse Buss, the youngest sons of the former LA Lakers owner Dr. Jerry Buss, will be part of this organization. Some members of the Seidler family are retaining at least a portion of their stakes in the team. So obviously a big step for this organization. A lot of good things on the horizon. And you know, as Rob Manfred said in the statement, on behalf of Major League Baseball, I thank John Seidler and the entire Seidler family for their stewardship of the Padres, continuing the legacy established by the late Peter Seidler. The Padres reached the postseason 4 times in the last 6 years, energized one of baseball's most passionate fan bases, and strengthened the club's role as a cornerstone of the San Diego community. We appreciate the Seidler family's longstanding commitment to our national pastime and their many contributions to the game. So they're obviously saying all the right things. The new ownership group is, but as we've talked about, the thing I like about this new ownership group is I like the fact that Jose E. Feliciano, despite the fact that he obviously has a lot of money with Clear Lake Capital, is the fact that he has already owned a professional organization before. I think that's huge, right? I think that's huge. I like the fact that Harpelou is going to be even more of an owner in terms of how much money he has invested in this team. I think that's great as well. And I think the biggest thing that a lot of Padres fans want to see is this team's commitment to improving the roster and doing it by any means necessary. And this organization so far has said those things. And you're unfortunately going to have to wait until they start doing those things in the offseason. But I think it's more than just Ty France and Adrian Morejon. I think that's easy fruit to pick, just because it's right there and they've been playing very well and they've been the keys to this team's success this year. I think you got to outview just that emotional standpoint and start looking at it from a standpoint of, can they go out and sign the players that we need to help this roster in the future? And we'll see what they allow AJ Preller to do this offseason. We'll see if they're able to do it before there might be a lockout. I think there's a lot of different questions that open up with this. But if you want to weigh in, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. I think it's more than just re-signing a couple players that you currently have.
For sure. And there are also a lot of internal discussions that need to be had as well as far as this team is concerned. First of all, Nick Pivetta. We know now for a fact that he is not going to be back on the Major League roster. His player option turns into a club option. What do you do there? Trying to ensure Michael King stays, potentially seeing if Robbie Ray or Casey Mize, one or the other or both, fit within the future plans of this team. You're also going to be losing a bunch of guys like Griffin Canning, Walker Buehler, Kyle Hart. Now, those guys may not be the biggest names and have the flashiest names, but those guys are guys who are filling out this roster right now. Those are guys that you do not have replacements for down in the minor league system that you're going to need to figure out at some point. You're also going to need to figure out the catching situation. Freddie Fermin, Luis Camposano, and all signs point to Ethan Salas being ready to be up here. What do you do at catcher next year? So there are a lot of internal questions that the Padres are going to have to answer before looking out and seeing what outside they can get to bring in to supplement who they are going to be losing from within.
I look at and I went back to the Ty France thing. I think Ryan O'Hearn is very comparable. Do you know how old Ryan O'Hearn was last year?
Was he 30, 31?
31. He hit 281 with an 803 OPS for a 126 OPS plus on the year. 2.5 WAR, obviously not the best when it comes to defense in comparison to Ty France. He hit 17 home runs last year, which was a career high. He had relatively a very similar year to what Ty France is doing at this age. Ty France has been an all-star once, just like Ryan O'Hearn. Ty France had played, he's played one less year than Ryan O'Hearn has. They came up around the same time, 2019, 2018. A lot of years for Ryan O'Hearn in which he had a 600 plus a 600 area OPS. Ty France has had a little bit more in terms of like 700 plus year OPS, but they're very comparable when you look at their overall numbers. If you look at their career stats, 254 hitter for Ryan O'Hearn, 749 OPS, 265 career hitter for Ty France, 747 OPS, 101 career home runs for Ryan O'Hearn, 98 for Ty France.
You also have those names that I mentioned are just names that are on the active roster. You also have Jason Adam, who's going to be a free agent this year. Ramon Laureano is going to be a free agent this year. I believe there's going to be an option for Miguel Andujar. Lord knows what's going to happen with Yu Darvish, because he's not a free agent until 2029.
Well,
so
I was bringing that up mostly on, like, if you want a comparison of what somebody got.
Oh, no. I'm just saying that there are more options also.
Ryan O'Hearn got $12 million a year. Ty France plays better defense than Ryan O'Hearn. Ty France is having a better season this year than Ryan O'Hearn did last year. Ty France can play almost everything. At same age, Ryan O'Hearn got a 2-year, $24 million deal. I think I think you're going to have to get. Actually, no, I lied. That's what he was expected to get. Ryan O'Hearn got 2 years, $29 million. They're paying him $14.5 million a year, and he's not a Gold Glover. Even if Ty France gets a 2-year deal, he's got to get something close to that. $14.5 million, 15. You can't pay him that. No, it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, for $8 million, great. Nobody's signing for $8 million nowadays.
And to what the caller last hour had said, to say that Ty France is the only first baseman this Padres team has had in years is absurd. For as much as you may hate him, Eric Hosmer was a genuine first baseman. He'd hit for power and played defense well enough until the very end. Adrian Gonzalez also. That's 2 in the last 15 years that you have had here. Ty France, while it's not easy to replace a first baseman like that, it is a replaceable position.
Right. I want to make this clear. I don't think Ty France is not good enough to be on this team. I would love to be on this team. I just don't think what you would have to bring him back for money-wise makes a lot of sense, because somebody's going to pay him like they paid Ryan O'Hearn, especially since Ty France brings a little bit more at this point, because he could do a lot of different things. So 833-288-973, 833-288-973. We're going to talk about the Padres offense in just a little bit. What is a big factor into why they can sustain said offense when we return? 11:23 on a Monday. Got some breaking news with the new ownership group getting approved unanimously by the MLB owners out there, which led to what do you want to see them do as new owners as their big first move. They will be having a press conference a week from today at 1 o'clock. We'll be carrying that commercial free for you next Monday. So that should be fun. We'll have that next week, hear a little bit more and get to know Kwanzaa Jones and Jose E. Feliciano a little bit more, as Padres owners. So if you want to weigh in on that, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Steve and Poway wants to weigh in. Steve, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Anyway, talking about the new ownership, I do have a question about that. And this is my question. If I'm putting myself in his position of buying this team and negotiating, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to negotiate that they pay off all these fat contracts with these players that Seidler signed with these guys, and because I don't want to be stuck with a team that I'm paying $3 billion for and have to deal with Machado and Bogart and those guys for another 7 years or whatever. So I would think that, I don't know, I'm going to get your opinion. Don't you think they'd say, listen, you guys, Seidlers need to pay off all those contracts, whether it goes into a separate fund or whatever, in case I want to get rid of those guys and I want to start to build a team for myself and I'd have to wait 7 years in order to do that.
Well, I think, Steve, and I appreciate the phone call. I think we don't know what the details are of a lot of these contracts. I highly doubt that is the case. But I think that this team, or this new ownership group, I should say, knows what they are buying. Otherwise, they wouldn't have bought the team. Like, they know what they're buying. They know they're buying this. They still spent the $3.9 billion on this organization despite the large contracts. It's part of the deal. Like, if they didn't want to pay for those salaries, or they didn't think they could afford it, they didn't think they could turn this thing around, you know what they would have done, Frank? They would have offered less money. Maybe that was the case for maybe some of the other owners, but like, they're not going to just make the Seidler family write a check to cover that. Maybe they did. Who knows? But that's just not. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. All right. Again, with the Ty France situation, he actually is better career-wise than Ryan O'Hearn. Ryan O'Hearn got $14 million a year. And he's actually having a better year this year than O'Hearn had last year. So when I said that somebody's going to pay for him, somebody's paying for Ty France next year. I don't necessarily know if the Padres can afford to pay him $14 million a year like they did with Ryan O'Hearn. But that's a question for the offseason. We have, again, with the offense, there's something about the offense that I think leads to this team being a October-ready offense and not just a they're hot offense, Frank. And I didn't tell you what the stat was that Kevin Acee had in his daily newsletter, but I think it's important. Do you want to guess? Since we love letting you guess on this show. Let me ask you this.
The stat?
How do you think the Padres are with 2 outs on offense?
Better than they were.
They've actually been good like the entire year with 2 outs.
Yeah.
The Padres scored 4 of their 5 runs with 2 outs yesterday. They rank second in Major League Baseball in percentage of runs scored with 2 outs. 42%. 42% in percentage of runs scored with 2 outs. They're third in Major League Baseball in batting average with 2 outs, hitting .252. That's kind of remarkable. And that's a sign of a really good team with a good approach at the plate, that they are contributing and making things happen even when they have 2 outs. You know, USD Baseball's got this philosophy of like there's no clock in baseball. Obviously now we have the pitch clock and stuff like that. But The reality is there is no clock in baseball. You have a ton of opportunities to continue to add on. You have tons of opportunities offensively where you're playing with outs. And you could be a dog with 2 strikes. You could be a dog with 2 outs. That's exactly what this Padres team has been doing. And just because there's 2 outs doesn't mean the inning is over with this team. I mean, they have been able to do a lot of damage with 2 outs, either via batting average or in run scoring. Now, that being said, it doesn't seem like they're as good with runners in scoring position without 2 outs. But with 2 outs, the Padres are second in Major League Baseball in percentage of runs scored, and they're third in Major League Baseball in batting average with 2 outs. And Kevin Acee alluded to in his daily newsletter that out of the 13 of the last 16 World Series participants ranked in the top 10 in batting average with 2 outs during the regular season, which is interesting because it speaks to this kind of offensive mentality they have. And this is the type of mentality you want to see in your offense when it comes to playoff baseball. And I think it's a big reason why they have excelled offensively, even more than just relying on the stars who are starting to star now, Frank. I mean, the ability to hit with 2 outs, the ability to score runs with 2 outs, I think is very important. And I think that's another factor to why this team is in the position that they are in and why this team is not just on a hot stretch.
Yeah, you put a lot of emphasis on hitting with 2 outs, situational hitting, and it's working for them for sure. And you also have that ability to hit with runners in scoring position as well. That's something that this team has excelled in and has gotten better with when they've had the opportunities to. It's just especially at the beginning part of the season, there weren't many opportunities to hit with runners in scoring position. But now you're starting to get those hits. You're starting to get timely hits. And that's part of the reason why this offense has had the success that it's had, for sure.
Yeah, and they have gone from an offense that needed multiple hits to score to an offense that can change the game with one swing. Because the other thing, too, offenses in Major League Baseball that win in the playoffs, what's the one thing that they hit a lot of? Playoff baseball teams that make it to the World Series, home runs. The Padres are now hitting multiple home runs in 37% of the last 27 games. Tatis is producing, Merrill's producing, Renjifo's producing. Gavin Sheets has hit the long ball a couple of times. Cronenworth hit one yesterday. Unexpected players like Jace Bowen hitting home runs. But like the biggest question now is, because I think they've finally figured out their offense and have now started to hit their stride a little bit. Can this offense do this against elite pitching? And for a lot of the majority of the season, Frank, they have already gone against a lot of elite pitching. Now, they hadn't put up a ton of runs against some of this elite pitching, but I think the fact that they have had to see all of this pitching that they have had, the high velo at the beginning of the season, I think that only helps them when it comes to October baseball.
No, I agree. I mean, this is starting to look like an October lineup for sure. And it's playing out very, very well. And you're not only getting home runs from 1 or 2 guys, you're getting them spread out. And it's not just the stars. You're also getting home run contributions from Luis Renjifo. You're getting contributions from Jake Cronenworth. You just got one. Gavin Sheets is starting to pick up the power a little bit. Look like he's starting to figure out how to hit with that plantar fasciitis. So he's been fine. The power is certainly starting to come around.
Do we think that this offense is capable of producing in the postseason? Because the last couple of years, it actually has not been pitching that has hurt this team. It has been the lack of offense when it comes to postseason playoff time. That's the big question. I think the way that they've been playing, the way that they have found multiple ways to score runs, makes them a dangerous team in October. They just got to kind of grind through these next couple of months. Mm-hmm. Now, from a pitching standpoint, I think that's exactly what they need to do. And they got to start being a little bit, observant of who's being used and how much they're being used, because you want them fresh in October. If that was the case for Manny Machado at the beginning of the year, that we want to make sure he's healthy and fresh and ready for October, it should be the same conversation for the bullpen. And we'll talk about bullpen usage when we come back. We're going to get to the sports thread in a couple of minutes here. We're talking about Aztec football later on in the show. We're going to get to some NFL stuff later on the show. College football AP Top 25 came out today. Lots to get to on the sports world. We're going to talk about this Padres bullpen here in a second as well. But like today, we had the interesting story that came out about the NBA when it comes to the Clippers.
Yeah, that was going to be in the sports.
So ESPN had an article saying the NBA has found no evidence showing LA Clippers owner Steve Ballmer funneled money through the team sponsors to pay Kawhi Leonard in order to circumvent the salary cap. Okay, that was ESPN's deal. The NBA has put this out after the fact. Did you see what the NBA put out?
I did not, no.
ESPN's article, this is from NBA spokesman Mike Bass. ESPN's article regarding the LA Clippers investigation, for which the NBA declined to cooperate, contains numerous and significant inaccuracies. The result in this matter will be made clear once the investigation is concluded. So the NBA is basically saying, nope, this ain't true. I can't wait to hear more from Pablo Torre. Maybe we shouldn't have that in the sports thread since it doesn't sound like any of it's accurate. But here's what this is where I'm going with this. I then saw a quote tweet, and it said, "This Clipper situation is 1/1000th interesting in comparison to Mark Walter selling off a lot of his ownership stakes in professional sports franchises." We got this report today. Is this today? Let's say 17th? Yeah.
Yes.
This report came out today. Billionaires Mark Walter and Todd Boehly are considering exiting their stakes in Chelsea FC, according to the Financial Times, entering discussions as Walter's facing federal fraud investigations following his brow-raising sale of the Los Angeles Lakers. Mark Walter just sold the Lakers out of nowhere. He was getting federally investigated for some interesting things that I will let you go look up on your own.
Somebody's getting in trouble.
But so he's getting investigated by the federal government, correct? By the DOJ.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, all of a sudden, after 18 months of owning the Los Angeles Lakers, has quickly sold that ownership stake to somebody else. And now he's looking to offload his minority position in Chelsea FC to Clear Lake Capital, which is co-founded by who? Jose Feliciano.
Yeah,
who, again, he's in a good spot now. I mean, what a great day for him. I mean, he's going to own more of Chelsea, and he gets the Padres approved. It's a great day to be Jose Feliciano. It's a terrible day to be Mark Walter. If Walter and Boehly exited the soccer club, it would mark the end of a long-running governance deadlock with Clear Lake Capital, which holds more than 60% of Chelsea, but shares equal decision-making authority with Boehly. The discussions come as federal investigators are reportedly probing whether Walter used insurers he controls to improperly funnel billions of dollars worth of loans to other firms owned by him.
Oh, no.
That includes entities like Sportsnet LA and some other things that the Dodgers
Rich
have.
people manipulating money in shady ways. Who would have ever imagined?
The discussions come as federal investigators are reportedly probing Walter on this. Okay. Walter recently sold the Lakers in a deal valuing the team at $12.5 billion, doing so just 14 months. I lied. It wasn't 18 months. It was 14 months after he bought the team for $10 billion, triggering conspiracy theories. The fraud investigation of Walter may have benefited new owner Josh Kushner, the brother of President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, after Josh Kushner bought the Lakers alongside former Disney chief Bob Iger. This is in Forbes' article about this. If Walter exits Chelsea, that will bring his major sports holdings down to three teams: the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Los Angeles Sparks, which he co-owns with Magic Johnson, and the French soccer team RC Strasbourg, which he co-owns alongside Boehly. Forbes estimates that Walter's net worth is $7.8 billion. Boehly's is at $9.3 billion. Since acquiring a stake in Chelsea in 2022, Walter's fortune has grown $3 billion. Interesting. interesting, to say the least. I'm curious to see what happens now with him and the Dodgers.
I
mean, at this point,
he's-
like, are the Dodgers going to be for sale anytime soon?
My assumption would be that Strasburg is
like
going to
to
be the
assume.
next one to go. He's going to hold on to the Dodgers for as long as he can, unless that is going to be the one that is going to give him the most grief. That would be the next one I think would go. If it's going to give him the most grief, the Dodgers are going to be the next one to go. If it's the one that's going to give him the least amount of grief, he's going to hold on to that for as long as I can.
I think here's the other thing I think about this. Like he only has 12% of Chelsea, so it's not like, even though Chelsea might be very valuable, his ownership stake in the Dodgers is obviously the most valuable.
12% of a pie having poor ingredients is enough to ruin the pie.
Easy. We're Chelsea fans here now.
Chelsea ain't winning much lately.
I'm just saying.
Which, by the way, that starts up on Friday.
I can't wait for Chelsea night at the Padres games. It's going to be great. Maybe you'll see some friendlies with Chelsea and San Diego FC. I'm all on board.
Speaking of which, when does Chelsea start? I know the Prem starts up in 4 days. Chelsea is the 24th, next Monday morning. Cool. So we'll be able to watch it. Full focus while Feliciano is accepting the job of his new team.
What if he comes up wearing Chelsea stuff and takes it off and puts the Padres stuff on? I think there's going to be a lot more to this Mark Walters story that I think is going to be very fascinating. We got to get to the sports thread. I say we punt on the Clippers thing because of the fact that the NBA has said that it's, not accurate, I guess. Take that for what it's worth. So if you haven't added the top 25 of college football, maybe throw that in here. Let's see what Frank's got in store.
You know that group chat? The one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk.
All right, Frank, what we got going on today besides a lot?
I did not have the top 25 in here just because I figured we would do a segment on that.
Number 1.
I do, however, have the new the new team at Heisman has launched the Heisman Hopefuls, a data storytelling and fan voting platform aimed at expanding the conversation about the award given to the most outstanding player in college football. The platform will feature official player data and regularly updated EA Sports college football player rankings. Oh, God, they're going to screw that up so bad. And it will allow fans to place the first official vote for the Heisman Trophy. Heisman CEO Jeff Price said, "We surveyed college football fans and they told us clearly they want more data and more players and more ways to engage with the Heisman Trophy throughout the season." So the Heisman Hopefuls group is trying to get more fan interaction with the Heisman Trophy vote.
I think the Heisman Trophy is a waste of everybody's time. I remember saying that on a previous show and upsetting a lot of old people. It is a dumb trophy. It is stupid. Everything about
it's a quarterback trophy.
It's dumb. They have made it so dumb. It's not the best college football player. It's a waste of everybody's time. It's a waste of everybody's time. It's who's the best quarterback on a team that has a chance to win a national championship. It's a dumb award. I know it's for like what you do in college, not the NFL, but like some of the names that have been on there for the last handful of years, there've been a lot of good names on there, but there's a lot of guys that just don't do anything in the National Football League. And I know it's supposed to be separate, but I have a feeling that you would think that the best player in college football should be a pretty good player in the NFL, right? I think it's a waste of time. I don't watch it. I don't care who wins it. I think Diego Pavia made a mockery of it last year anyway. It's dumb. I mean, Marshall Faulk didn't win the Heisman because he went to San Diego State. I mean, if the fact that you can only be at a good school to win the Heisman is also really dumb. I mean, the fact that they took their Heisman Trophy away from Reggie Bush was also dumb. Like, what, he wasn't the best player in college football? He only would have done that if he was at SC. I mean, like, come on. Stupid award. This is what young people don't care about it. It's dumb. Stop trying to get people to care. They're not going to care. Stop it. As
Hazy Steph in the chat said, it's a popularity contest.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is.
Doesn't that award shows, Hall of Fame vote, all that stuff. It is a pet peeve of mine. It is such eyewash, disgusting who belongs in a Hall of Fame, discussing who wins awards. It's stupid. It's a waste of my time.
Number 2.
You ever look at your team's starting quarterback and go, "Oh no, it's stupid"?
What?
That's what I said when I saw Jackson Dart's comments after their preseason game. Another trip to the Blue Medical Tent, and New York Giants quarterback Jackson Dart isn't too happy about the reoccurrence. After being checked out for concussion 5 times last year during his rookie season, Dart was sent to the medical tent after taking a big hit in Saturday's preseason opener against Minnesota. The request to undergo his latest concussion check left him puzzled. He said, "As far as the blue tent, I really respect the rules and thought behind the NFL really the thought behind the NFL has of keeping players healthy and reviewing things. But at the same time, I'm still puzzled by it, feeling like every time I get hit, I find my way in there, which at times I still try to wrap my head around."
What?
Brother doesn't want to go to the blue tent every time he gets hit.
Yeah, well, you're a quarterback, dude. You're going to have to do that.
Well, that, and also don't lay motionless on the ground for about 10 seconds after you do get hit.
Especially when they invest a lot of money in you to be their quarterback. If you don't want to, I guess maybe he's doing this as a sign of maybe we should protect this guy a little bit more. Right? Maybe that's his way of saying, like, "Hey, can you give me some protection? I look like Joe Burrow out here."
That, or, maybe saying, I don't know, get a brain. Maybe that could be part of it.
That's true. Well,
it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to hurt what you don't have, And I think
taking too many deep shots.
I think he and Scadaboo
foul on
both,
Frank.
No,
Scadaboo's worse.
I think he and Scadaboo have both proven over last year they both do not have an singular brain cell to split in half and rub together between the two of them.
Number 3.
Rejoice for all major league pitchers. No more Tommy John surgery ever. Unfortunately, this is where we do get serious again.
I was going to say,
your
set up for that was...
Former Major League pitcher Tommy John, a four-time All-Star who won 288 career games and was the namesake behind the pioneering elbow surgery that prolonged his career for 14 more years, passed away on Saturday at the age of 83. John died in his home in Bradenton, Florida. Spelled correctly, by the way, just with a ton at the end of it.
Yes, correct. Bradenton, Florida spells the Braden part correct.
The New York Yankees said in a statement yesterday a cause of death was not given, but he had been in hospice and had been diagnosed with bladder cancer, among other ailments. Not many people know of Tommy John outside of the surgery, but a decent enough career and was able to prove that elbow surgery would be able to to lengthen your career out, as he did with 14 years.
I know, pretty remarkable ingenuity and medical marvel, if you will, and how it's impacted a lot of baseball players in Major League Baseball and throughout. So, he was first one to ever do it, and that's why it's called Tommy John surgery. So,
and that goes to your point of Hall of Fame, because when I think of Hall of Fame, I think of people who revolutionized and changed the game, not only with their stats, but other people that have had impact on the sport. And Tommy John is definitely a guy who has had some impact on this sport of Major League Baseball.
I think so too. Absolutely.
He absolutely should be a Hall of Famer.
Number 4.
The NBA announced its schedule loaded with highly anticipated reunions.
Yay.
Yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo will
That's
return to
cool.
Milwaukee on January 28th for the first time since leaving the Bucks.
Wow.
Jaylen Brown on January 21st goes back to Boston. You sound very, very excited.
I don't care
by this.
Yeah.
So there's nothing you want to see. Nothing like the
regular season NBA
Christmas
games.
rematch between the Knicks and Spurs.
Care. On Christmas Day and Christmas Eve, there's NFL games now. I will be watching the NFL. I love the fact the NBA is like, we control Christmas. NFL's like, hey, we're going to put some games on Christmas. And guess what everybody watched? The NFL games. Speaking of the NFL, I have one extra story to get to you about the NFL and Nielsen ratings. Talk about that next.
No warm-up needed. If it matters in this city, you're hearing about it right here.
The Michael King contract, super creative. I think it's a great win for the Padres.
Real opinions, real takes, no wasted time.
It has been the little things that have outdone San Diego State, and that's where they got to improve.
Live and local on 97.3 The Fan. The Braden Surprenant Show starts now.
Noon lunchtime hour on The Fan, broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios. We know how. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Good to be with all of you today on a Monday. Got a lot to talk about when it comes to Padres baseball, when it comes to the NFL, college football, everything like that. All right. NFL things that I think are very interesting today. This came out earlier today. It is Nielsen, who does ratings, as we know. Nielsen did a breakdown of fan engagement in the National Football League in terms of their how avid cities are for their favorite NFL team, which I find to be very interesting. And I also find to be not surprising when you start looking at some of these teams, if you will, or some of these markets. But here's what Nielsen did. Nielsen conducted a, quote, NFL fandom index, which ranks how avid NFL fans are in each team market based on 8 key metrics. Apparel purchases, event attendance, linear TV viewership, streaming, radio listening, betting intent, social media following, and general interest. To no one's surprise, obviously smaller markets did a little bit better. There's less of a population, and when you have less of a population, there's more instances that most of that group will like some of the same stuff, where like in the big markets, there's going to be a lot more people. And with more people, there's more people that are interested in other things. So probably to no one's surprise that LA is 29th out of 30 markets. Now, I know there's 32 teams, but LA's got 2 teams and New York's got 2 teams, so they're part of it. They also are 29 and 30th, respectively. So Nielsen came up with this formula to determine which NFL markets watch the most football. Where are NFL fans most deeply invested in their teams? And obviously the biggest takeaway is small cities are usually pretty good on this. Top NFL fandom markets. I let Frank try to guess.
Well, we'll
you got
that now. I got 1.
You got Buffalo as number 1.
And Green Bay.
You got Green Bay number 3. We're looking for 2, 4, and 5 on this list. Cincinnati was 4.
Kansas City.
Kansas City was 2.
5. Baltimore?
Nope.
Pittsburgh?
No. It's actually a bigger market.
It's a big Philadelphia?
Philly's the 5th on the top NFL fandom markets. So again, they used 8 different measurements. It's different than regular TV ratings, obviously. It's measured on how fans consume and express their fandom. And the small market advantage that they said is this is probably the most compelling finding for this. Buffalo, Green Bay, Kansas City are all relatively small markets compared with places like LA, New York, Chicago, but their fans are far more concentrated around one NFL team. AFC North did especially well. All 4 finished in the top 10. Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. And because these are traditional football markets where the NFL team is deeply intertwined with the identity of the city, there are multiple NFL teams competing for attention, and there aren't necessarily as many entertainment alternatives. So extremely high per capita engagement in some of these small markets. And Cincinnati and Philadelphia are particularly interesting. Neither Cincinnati nor Philadelphia dominate one specific category. Instead, they are consistently excellent across all of the 8 categories that they use to determine NFL fandom. Both rank in the top 5 in 5 of 8 measurements, arguably more impressive than simply leading one category. Of course, strongest fan bases aren't necessarily the loudest, but they are the most consistently engaged. The other things that they did like radio engagement. And this is how traditional football markets consume games on the radio. Outside of Buffalo, Green Bay, and Kansas City, the strongest radio markets include Cleveland, Cincinnati, Minneapolis, and Pittsburgh. And it's mostly because it challenges the idea that streaming and social media have completely replaced traditional sports consumption, obviously. So radio is very popular in those markets. And like New York comes in last in the index. LA and Miami also underperform relative to their size. It doesn't mean that people in those cities don't care about football, but a lot of it gets diluted. I mean, if you think about LA, they have all these different teams that they can watch. So there's an enormous amount of competing for attention, whereas Green Bay, the Packers are the only thing in town. So that makes a lot of sense. Different markets have different type of fans too, according to this Nielsen review. Study also shows the fandom isn't one size fits all. Indianapolis was very high with social media engagement. I wonder why. Play the song.
Which song?
These are our Colts.
Oh.
This is our Colts. This is our team. We bleed blue.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Social media content. Denver, strong streaming behavior. Apparently they stream a lot in Colorado.
Oh, the Denver Broncos.
Jacksonville's got strong streaming behavior. Detroit, unusually strong apparel purchases. A lot of people like buying the Lions stuff, dude. Green Bay gets apparel and generational loyalty. Buffalo and Kansas City, broad, intense engagement. Philadelphia and Cincinnati have been consistent across multiple categories. So a lot of interesting conversation when it comes to the Nielsen. Anybody surprised by the LA or New York market situation? I'm not. What about Boston not being in the top? Is that surprising to you?
No, because again, I mean, the Patriots are kind of meh quality wise. I mean, they're a solid team, but still, Red Sox are on a generational heater right now, and the Celtics are good. So I don't see. I'm not surprised by that, honestly.
I'm not either. I'm especially not surprised by the big market stuff. I mean, maybe it makes it more lucrative for organizations like the Chargers to be in smaller markets. Maybe that's the case. I just found that to be interesting, to say the least. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get back to the Padres when it comes to their bullpen. Should the San Diego Padres be worried about Mason Miller's workload, which I think leads to some interesting conversations about the bullpen hierarchy, and it might be shifting a little bit. We saw Bradgley Rodriguez close a game out the other day. When you had Mason Miller and Bradgley was coming off of throwing a lot of pitches like prior to that outing. So I found that to be interesting that happened over the weekend. But just to get to the conversation about Mason Miller and Adrian Morejon in particular, when it comes to this bullpen, Mason Miller is only 13 2/3 innings away from matching his career high. Adrian Morejon is 7 1/3 innings away from reaching his career high. The Padres have relied heavily on these guys. So I think the question is right now, as we head into the later 2 months and really the next month and a half, would you rather use Miller aggressively now to secure a playoff spot, or would you rather protect him so he's at full strength in October? Can the Padres try to do a little bit of both? These are some very important questions for the Padres in the next 6 weeks.
I would lean more towards saving him for the postseason. You want him ready to go, of course, but he doesn't have to go for a save record. He's got, 32 saves? He's well off of that. He doesn't need to concern himself with that. Just go for it, have Morejon, throw some save opportunities. Maybe Jeremiah Estrada every now and again, and Bradgley Rodriguez did well on Friday night. So I wouldn't be all that upset if Mason Miller was starting to get a little bit less work down the stretch here.
I agree with you. Like, I feel like it's a little bit like right now when you have the schedule that you have and you're going against teams that are under 500, and you're not going to be playing too many teams that are really like, they're not like Cleveland in a sense that they are desperate to win. Maybe you get to that when it comes to like Minnesota, but like Pittsburgh's out of it right now. The New York Mets are out of it right now. There's a handful of teams coming up with the Padres schedule that have nothing to play for. I think if you want to be able to just save Mason Miller a couple of times, I think you have guys in your bullpen that can close games out. I think you see it with Bradgley Rodriguez. I think you have an option there. I think, and we'll see what the latest update is on Jason Adam. Be nice to have him back to kind of take away from some of these, outings for Mason Miller and Adrian Morejon. But right now, like, you're in a good position. You're not in a perfect position. You're not in a great position to, put yourself in, we don't want to use Mason Miller. But I wouldn't be surprised, Frank, in the next couple of weeks if Mason Miller is unavailable more times than not. Especially, and I don't think you need to use him every time that you have a save situation. You need him healthy for October a lot more. Not to say he's going to get hurt, but you need him fresher for October than you do for the final push of this season.
Yeah, because you saw last year in October how valuable he can be in that late game spot, in that big moment in October. So I would be more focused on that instead of having him close out games against the Mets, against Tampa, against the Yankees, against teams that in the grand scheme of things really don't matter as far as making the playoffs and winning a division potentially.
I think the same thing can be said about Adrian Morejon. Obviously they're using him a ton. They used him a lot last year. I know he's been a big asset for this team. And here's the hard part for Craig Stammen and the staff. Like, you want to give him some time off, but they can't have too much time off because they might get a little rusty, right? So I think it's an interesting conversation. It's hard. It's hard to manage because of the fact that, what happens if you blow a couple teams out 3 days in a row and you don't use Mason Miller after you didn't use him in a save situation, maybe the series prior, to try to give him rest, and now he's got like 3 or 4 days in which he's resting? Or how about, you end up throwing him in some of these situations? He hadn't pitched in forever, and now he's in a blowout game, and it's an interesting discussion. It's an interesting discussion on how to use Mason Miller down the stretch. But you still have to use him. Like, he still has to get innings. He still has to stay fresh. I wouldn't try to use him every single day in some of these games. I think you could close games out with some of the options that you have. But the other thing for the Padres is Adrian Morejon, like we started this conversation with. You can't just rely on Adrian Morejon to save the day either. He's 7 1/3 innings away from his career high. So I think there's a little bit of both here of trying to secure a playoff spot, but also trying to protect not only Mason Miller, but Adrian Morejon for the standings of October. I think October is a little bit more important for both of these guys. And, and here's what it all comes down to. If you just took care of business in end of April, beginning of May through June, you wouldn't have to worry about this because you wouldn't have had to use either of these guys as much as you have had to. So maybe you give Estrada a couple more opportunities. Maybe it's Bradgley Rodriguez and a couple more opportunities. But you're starting to look at the way this bullpen is playing out. And who knows when you'll get Jason Adam back. You got a couple of guys in the minor leagues that could probably help you at some point in time who are on the 40-man roster. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, Frank, if you see David Morgan up here over the course of the next couple of weeks just to give you some innings, to kind of keep your arms fresh.
Yeah, the guys that you have on the 40-man roster are not up here. Johnny Brito, that is an option. Alec Jacob, okay. David Morgan is a guy you would expect to come up. You also have Garrett Hawkins, who we saw pitch very well in spring training, has not been up in the major leagues. And you also at the trade deadline picked up Hunter Stratton, who is down in Triple A right now. So those are guys that you can come in to try to relieve some of the pressure on these guys in the bullpen. But right now, Miller, Morejon, Estrada, Rodriguez, Matsui, Peralta, Hart, and Canning, that's what you got right now. And maybe you start leaning on Kyle Hart a little bit more. Maybe you start leaning on Griffin Canning a little bit more and stop having Morahone pitch 2 innings at a time. Stop having Rodriguez pitch 2 innings at a time, because that's something he has done this season. So they do have options and they do have ways to work around getting some of these guys a little bit of extra rest.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what happens when Joe Musgrove comes back, and we're going to talk about him later on here, because he looked really good in terms of like the velo being up.
Big
I mean, the
surprise,
results are the results. I don't really care about the results. It's about the process of getting him back, and maybe another rehab assignment, maybe one more is what's needed to have him fresh and readily available. But when you start looking at the bullpen hierarchy, they really believe right now, I think, in Bradgley Rodriguez maybe moving his way into some more high leverage situations. Jeremiah Estrada has been kind of back and forth a little bit in terms of like how good he has been, how reliable he has been. But when I look at this bullpen right now, I mean, I think your middle relief guys are definitely Yuki Matsui and Wandy Peralta. I honestly think, because you put the bullpen hierarchy on there, I honestly believe I trust the rookie and Bradgley Rodriguez a lot more than Estrada. And as of right now, until you get Jason Adam back, I'd probably have Bradgley Rodriguez back there with Adrian Morahone as late relief guys with Mason Miller. I think you saw it the other day with him closing out a game. I think Yuki Matsui has played incredibly. He's pitched incredibly well this season. He's pitched a lot better than Wandy Peralta. Wandy Peralta got off to a hot start, but he has not been very good as of late. I think Kyle Hart has shown that he deserves to get a lot more innings. He's done a great job. With the addition of Jason Adam potentially coming back to this bullpen and Joe Musgrove, this is a good pitching staff that can win in October. But I do think you want to try to keep things as fresh as possible for some of these guys. And it's not an easy task to do because of the fact that you still want to try to win. You're still trying to win games to solidify a position in the postseason on top of trying to keep these guys healthy, which if and when you make it that far.
And another somewhat positive thing about Bradgley Rodriguez is he has spent time down in the minor leagues, down in the Arizona Complex League, to kind of give him some rest. So he might be a little bit fresher than Miller and Morahone.
And maybe they do that again when Adam comes back.
Yeah.
They give him a little bit extra rest. I know they signed Brent Honeywell to a minor league deal, and
he's not on the 40 right now.
They would have to add him to the 40-man roster, but I think the Padres have some options here to navigate their bullpen without having to really tax Adrian Morahone and Mason Miller. When we come back, we're going to talk about Joe Musgrove and talk about his progress that he has made and the report from his latest rehab assignment when we come back. Our baseball coverage on 97 through the Fan is presented by Xfinity. Score the most reliable Wi-Fi. One price, 5 years guaranteed. Xfinity. Imagine that. We can get to some more Padres baseball here in just a second. What I do want to mention is the fact that Joe Musgrove had a good session over the weekend in terms of a rehab assignment, if you will. He went against the Salt Lake Bees. His overall stat line is not the greatest, but it's the PCL. I don't really care what the results are. He went 4 2/3 innings, 5 runs, 9 hits, 5 strikeouts, a walk through 70 pitches, 47 of them, 4 strikes. I wouldn't overreact to the 5 runs. 5 runs on 9 hits isn't great, but it's also Triple A rehab baseball. The more important questions to have answered are, how did the arm feel afterward? How did the velocity hold? Did the velocity remain strong late? How did his breaking stuff look? How did he recover between innings? Can he handle another 15 to 25 pitches? The velo was good. 95 mile an hour late in the outing is probably more meaningful to the Padres than the 5 runs. And of course, like, here's the other thing too. Like, he's coming off of Tommy John surgery and he hit 97 at least once, which is legitimately intriguing to this team. You know, can Musgrove throw 97? Can Musgrove consistently sit in the mid-90s is kind of what you were hoping for. The fact that he hit 97, I think, is fantastic.
Yeah, that was 2 to 3 miles an hour faster than what he was throwing in his last healthy season. So, I mean, that is also a huge, huge boost. Not just for him, but also that this Tommy John surgery took and is held and is looking like he's going to come back as a solid starting pitcher. I would say potentially give him one more start. The fact that he threw 70 pitches and we haven't heard anything since then, he's been slowly ramping up, throwing more. I think he threw 40 and then like maybe 45, something like that, and now is up to 70. One more of 70 and see how his elbow feels. That'll get him right to about the end of the month, which is when the Padres need to make a decision on him because his rehab time will be up. I think you're looking pretty strong for a last week of August, first week of September return for Joe Musgrove, and something that maybe second start out, you can expect to see a pretty decent run from him.
I think one more rehab start could make some sense. I mean, if Joe Musgrove throws another 75 to 85 pitches, could get into the 5th or 6th inning, the Padres could feel much more comfortable putting him in the rotation. And on top of that, he doesn't have to rush back. Mm-hmm. Not with the way that Casey Mize has been pitching. You know, he got Robbie Ray eating some innings now. We'll see what happens with Walker Buehler moving forward, Michael King. I mean, it's just way different right now than it was pre-trade deadline. And I think that's beneficial not only to Joe Musgrove, but I think it's extremely beneficial to the San Diego Padres, in which they don't have to force him to come back sooner than they would like. And I think that's great news.
I think he's timed out to where he can get 2 more starts if they really wanted to push it. I think he can get 2 more in because his next start would be, if they kept it on the same run, probably either Wednesday or Thursday of this week, because all the minor leagues are off this week, and then potentially again Tuesday or Wednesday the week after, and then the Padres will have to make a decision on him. I think he's really only going to need the 1 more, if anything.
I'd give him 1 more start. I'd give him 1 more, and then because I do think he needs to have as many opportunities to face big league hitters in the month of September as he can. Mm-hmm. If he gets 1 more of these, starts, what is that? Like being like 5 days from Friday. Right?
Yeah, which is why I said like Wednesday or Thursday. Because
I think if he goes today. 1 more of those days, then he would have the entire month of September to be able to get a handful of starts in and face major league hitters. You can ease him into it a little bit, and then that way he's ready to go for October. I think a lot of your plans right now for pitching and offense, and just really anything in terms of who's playing and who's not, is getting them ready for October. That's not to say I think that they've already clinched a playoff spot, because they obviously haven't. They only have a 1-game lead on Arizona, and they're tied with Philly right now, and they're trying to play their way into better positioning. But I do think you need to be thinking a lot of October, and less about like treating September like it is October, is crazy as that might sound. So I think this is encouraging. The 97 miles an hour on the radar gun is very encouraging. I mean, I think that's kind of awesome. Obviously, he was probably juiced up a little bit. We got to see him with a little bit more command on his pitches. I think everything revolves around how he feels the next day and a couple days after. But I think the fact that he's been able to pitch in a couple of games now 3, be able to bounce back again in 5 days, the fact that he hit 97 in game 3 of his rehab, I also think is great. So this is all trending in the right direction for Joe Musgrove. And, they don't need him to be 2022 Joe Musgrove. They don't need him to be a lights out number one. They're asking him to get 5 innings, maybe give up a couple of runs, punch out a handful of guys, maybe like 5 guys, just be competitive. And that's potentially very valuable for this team that has lacked even that for the majority of this season.
Yeah, and unfortunately, El Paso has not announced any of its starting pitching plans for this week, and for that matter, neither has Round Rock. So no hints as to when Musgrove could pitch again. I think what we'll also be telling is that they're doing this on the road. They're coming home to face Minnesota and Pittsburgh. Interested to see how full his locker is in the clubhouse coming into this week.
Yeah, and I think the timing of this could be very huge. I mean, like we mentioned, if Musgrove returns to the big league roster in the next week or 2, the Padres could potentially have him available for the final, 6 weeks of the regular season, 5 weeks of the regular season, which is a lot different. That's a lot different team than the one that has been trying to piece together its rotation. You start to factor in some of the arms that are in this rotation right now. You would have Michael King, you'd have Joe Musgrove, Walker Buehler. I don't know why they decided to go with Wandy Peralta as an opener the other day instead of just letting Vasquez get out there.
That was odd.
I don't know how many more times they're going to do that in particular, but add Randy Vasquez to the equation. You got Casey Mize, you got Robbie Ray. I mean, you got dudes that could pitch, not only to finish the season, but you got guys that could pitch in October, especially mixed with this bullpen. Hopefully we get some good news on Jason Adam relatively soon, because you could have, a way different looking pitching staff going in October than you did for most of this summer. And I think that's all great news for the Padres.
Yeah, that was so interesting, especially with how Vasquez started his previous outing. Like, he did not have a good run. He did not have a good game the other day.
No.
What was his? Let me see. What was his numbers? 5 innings, 4 runs, 7 hits, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, 90 pitches, which is more than we're used to seeing him pitch, and 61 strikes. So his final line wasn't great, and that Saturday night was just awful for the Padres altogether. But it was so odd with the way he had pitched the outing before that to see them go with a bullpen game that day. That one felt a little unnecessary. The other ones felt necessary. You understood why they did it, but this time felt a little bit off. I'm not sure why they decided to go for a bullpen game this time around.
I don't know why either. I thought at this point, like, I get the chaos pitching when you didn't have any starting pitching.
Yeah.
But now at this point, like, are you going to go bullpen day with Randy Vasquez? I mean, I thought Randy Vasquez had pitched well enough to at least get a start, see what he's got. I guess they didn't want to put themselves behind the 8 ball, but they ended up doing that anyway. I mean, if Randy Vasquez is going to eat innings, I mean, he could start the game and do that. I thought that to be a little interesting myself. When we come back, the playoff races have changed. We're going to take a look at the American League and the National League playoff races when we come back.
Quinn and Chris on the Fan.
Scraby, come on, man. You can pull this out. You can win it.
I don't think this team has a strike, but I'm questioning myself. The Ravens.
The Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
They just played.
I know.
You'd think that you would know.
Do they have a stripe?
They have 2.
Yes! Yes!
Listen to Gwen and Chris weekdays from 2 to 6 on 97.3 The Fan.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Jack here. Visiting family inspired me to add a Philly-style bonus jack combo to my menu. Melty cheese, grilled onions and peppers, plus fries and a drink starting at just $5.49.
Yo, Jack, you got $6?
It also inspired me to stop visiting family.
Welcome to Jack in the Box.
Plus tax, limited time only. Price and participation may vary.
Are you considering GLP-1 injections for weight loss? Before you start, ask yourself this. Are you prepared to spend $3,000 to $5,000 per year and stay on the medication long-term to maintain the results? Many prescription weight loss injections require weekly shots, and when the medication is stopped, weight regain is common. Here's something most people don't realize. A significant portion of the weight loss can come from muscle, which can slow your metabolism and make keeping the weight off even harder. At SD Fat Loss, they take a different approach. Their doctor-developed program helps men and women lose 20 to 40 pounds in just 60 days, safely and naturally. No injections, no synthetic hormones, no long-term dependence. Instead, they use real food to reset your metabolism, control hunger and cravings naturally, and help your body burn fat, not muscle. Right now, you can schedule a free 15-minute phone consultation to see if the program is right for you. Go to sdfatloss.com. Results may vary.
This is the Duke's Country Song. It's a song about the best mayo. Has a yellow lid, and its full name is Duke's Mayonnaise. Get Duke's Mayo in store. It's got twang.
In 2026, Bay Alarm celebrates 80 years of security. For San Diego, that means local service including burglar and fire alarm systems, 24/7 in-house monitoring, and custom security designed to work with business operations. Bay Alarm has real people rooted in your community looking out for your business. After 8 decades and 3 generations of family ownership, our promise is still the same. We got you. Learn more at bayalarm.com.
Hey Mom, now that I have an after-school job, I think I want to buy a drum kit.
Okay, Rockstar. Let's look at your account.
When kids start making money, Chase has easy-to-use tools and expert bankers to help them learn how to manage it.
And next month, I'll buy the bass drum and the cymbals. Oh, and maybe some noise-canceling headphones for you.
Aw, you've thought of everything.
Help kids save, budget, and build financial independence, all with Chase. That's good for kids and good for parents. Visit your local Chase branch and get started.
Account subject to approval. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Onyx, I keep having stomach issues. Please make me a doctor's appointment.
Okay, are you suffering from diarrhea, bloating, gas, or oily stools? If so, you may want to ask your doctor if it could actually be a problem with your pancreas, called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI.
My pancreas? How is EPI treated?
A prescription medicine like Creon, pancrelipase, is used to treat people who can't digest food normally because their pancreas doesn't make enough enzymes. Creon is the #1 prescribed treatment for EPI.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you are allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon. You can learn more at 1-800-633-9110.
Before your appointment, visit creoninfo.com. That's CREON info.com.
This is an Odyssey Sports Minute.
Sponsored by Metal Supermarkets, the convenience store for metal. Find a store at metalsupermarkets.com. I love the Dallas Cowboys signing free agent, first ballot Hall of Fame pass rusher Von Miller to a 1-year deal. Miller's best years are behind him at 37 years old, but at 9 sacks last season for the Washington Commanders and mentor some of Dallas's young pass rushers. I like Dallas to get to the playoffs this year. I'm Nick Costos.
This hour of sports talk is brought to you by Business Office Outfitters. Visit boofurniture.com. Upgrade your workspace without draining your budget. At Business Office Outfitters, we bring you top-tier office furniture designed for comfort and success. Order today and we'll deliver tomorrow. Transform your office today at boofurniture.com. That's BOOfurniture.com.
Now, back to the Braden Surprenant Show, broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios. We know how.
It's cruising through the show today on a Monday. Padres take 2 out of 3 from Cleveland. We're going to talk more about that later on in the 1 o'clock hour. We will also dive into our NFL training camp report. We got a lot to get to still with Aztec football and just so much more. AP Top 25 came out today. It's a lot going on in the sports world. We love August because of that. Look like you had something to say.
No, not at all.
Oh, all right. Let's get to this other thing, too. We wanted to talk a little bit about Major League Baseball also. And the shape of what's going on in Major League Baseball is starting to change a little bit when it comes to how the division races have changed since the All-Star break. We're going to take a look at whether or not a lot of these teams have a better chance or a worse chance at winning the division. And we'll start with the American League. If you want to fire up the music, Frank, we can, as we talk about some of these division chases that are changing. You just upset somebody that didn't like it the last time we did this. But anyway, let's get to the American League East, where Tampa Bay has gone from contender to overwhelming favorite in the AL East.
Yeah, they have gone up. Their division odds, their odds to win the division, are now from 55.9% up to 85.4%. That's a 29.5% swing. Meanwhile, the Yankees have gone from 41.4% down to 12.2% chance to win the American League East. The Yankees had the advantage early, but Tampa Bay took the lead and just stayed steady with it. Meanwhile, the Yankees have effectively fallen off a cliff since they've lost Cody Bellinger, they've lost Aaron Judge, they've lost Giancarlo Stanton. So they've lost a decent amount of people in that lineup, but the Yankees have not been the dominating force that you would expect them to be. So did the Yankees season effectively change the moment Aaron Judge got hurt, or should a team with that much talent be able to survive his absence?
Yankees are 32-32 since Aaron Judge went on the injured list. They played about 500 ball, and it's not surprising considering the fact that they're a 500. They look like a 500 ball club. At that, like, you have a couple of good players in there, a couple of young stars. You got good pitching here and there, but overall, Frank, the way that this team has been playing, they're a 500 type ball club without Aaron Judge, and you're starting to see that. Losing him definitely really put the nail in the coffin when it came to the Yankees winning the division. I think they're benefiting from the fact that they play in such a lousy league that they're going to be right there and act. They're like they're fool's gold. The New York Yankees are fool's gold, and I don't really care what happens between the Padres and the Yankees over Labor Day weekend. In terms of like my opinion on this, I don't think the Yankees are very good, and with the payroll that they have, with the resources that they have, the fact that they're the New York Yankees. Yes, I know Aaron Judge is one of the best players to ever play this game and one of the best players in Major League Baseball. You're the New York Yankees. You should be able to overcome losing him for an extended period of time, and they don't have the bodies for it. And you look at their lineup, I mean, what a lackluster lineup that this team has on a daily basis. This is not a Yankees team that you grew up being afraid of in the 90s. This is no longer the evil empire. This is an average Major League Baseball team with a Tiffany & Company logo.
Yep. And, Jazz Chisholm has not done anything that they wanted him to do. And now you're sitting all of your hopes on Lombard, who's looked okay.
He looked pretty good. He's looked pretty good so far. But, fine. I mean, this is why early season standings are misleading. I mean, they continue to get better, and New York's stayed in the same position. On to our favorite division, the American League Central.
Yes, the AL Central. The White Sox chances of winning the division have gone from 23.7% to 46%. That is a 22.3% increase. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Guardians, who we just saw, 44% chance to win the division down to 15.2. Is Chicago actually a good team, or are we watching a division race being handed to them by a lackluster Guardians team?
I think the division is getting handed to them by Detroit.
Yeah.
I think because Detroit was supposed to just run this division. They're 4 games under 500. They just got swept over the weekend. And they're one of the 5 teams in the American League that have a positive run differential, yet they sit a game out of a playoff spot. They trade away Tarek Skubal at the trade deadline. They trade away Casey Mize at the trade deadline. I mean, the White Sox have had a very solid year. I don't necessarily think that they're a world beater type team. I think they have, got a lot of young players, that are very talented. I think they're also benefiting from a very bad American League. I think it's a little bit of White Sox are way better than they were in the previous years, and the Detroit Tigers are handing them the division by how poorly they've been for most of the season, despite having a really good roster. Now, a lot of that had to be with injuries, right? But Detroit sending away 2 of their best pitchers at the deadline when they're right there in the thick of things, I think that's the handing of the division to the Chicago White Sox.
And still surging are the Tigers as well.
After watching Cleveland this weekend, I'm not a big believer in them. They've lost 7 of the last 10. They didn't look very good. Minnesota looked awful this weekend. They got swept by Philly. They blew a huge lead to Philly yesterday, too.
You don't believe in Cleveland?
No, I don't. Absolutely not. Not with their negative 32 run differential.
But a lot of this also has to do with a lot of the gambles that Chicago has taken have worked out. Munetaka Murakami has adapted to Major League Baseball very, very well and very, very quick. If he's having half the season that he's having this year, the White Sox may not be in the position that they're in right now.
American League West.
Houston, their turnaround has been one of the biggest swings in baseball, period. Their chances to win the division were at 10%. They are up now to 63.8%. That is a 53.8% swing. Mariners go from 49.2% down to 17.3%. Did we bury Houston too early, or is their ability to repeatedly reinvent themselves the most impressive thing about this organization over the last 10 years?
I think there's 3. I think there's a third one. Does the American League West have to have a playoff team? You see that in football all the time. I'm never like a big advocate for that. Like, you got to win your division. You win your division, you deserve to be in the playoffs. I mean, shoot, the AL West, as bad as they are, could potentially have 2 teams, maybe even 3 in the – not really 3. They could hit 2 teams in the playoffs, with Texas being a half game out of a playoff spot, 2 games behind Houston for the division. This division is so bad that Houston's having a very mediocre season, and they're a game above 500, and it puts them in first place. Like, I don't think at the All-Star break, at the trade deadline, that the Astros just magically reinvented themselves, Frank.
No.
I just think the fact that the division sucks, but like, you know what? I guess we don't really need to sell Yordan Alvarez at the deadline. I mean, they are benefiting from the fact that Yordan Alvarez is in contention to potentially win the Triple Crown this year in the American League. He is putting this team on his back, and they're a game above 500. Any other year, if there's any good team in the American League West, maybe the Astros trade Yordan Alvarez at the deadline, and they're not in the position that they are now. Or maybe they are. Maybe they're still 1 game above 500, but that puts them like 5 or 6 games out of first place in the division. I think Houston has taken advantage of the fact that their division is terrible, that nobody wants to win it. Every time Texas goes on a little bit of a run, they answer with the long losing streak. Seattle can't score any freaking runs. They're 4 games out of the division, 2.5 out of a wild card spot, and 7 games under 500. 7 games under 500. And they're right there in the thick of things. This is the definition of like the division and the league benefiting the Houston Astros.
You want to talk about how bad the American League West has been? I'm not sure if you're looking at the standings right now. Who has played the best in the last 10 days in the AL West?
The Angels.
Yes, the
And
Angels
they're
are 5-5. They have the best record over the last 5 games.
And,
the last
and
10
they
games.
have the worst record in all of Major League Baseball.
All of the teams in the AL West have a negative run differential. All of them. And it's not close.
Every team in the American League but 5 has a negative run differential.
Every team in the American League but 5 are under 500.
Yes.
So it has been a putrid year.
They should let the Diamondbacks into the playoffs in the American League side. It's like, you know what? We can't have teams below 500 making the playoffs.
We can't in good conscience do this.
No, we can't do this. Throw the Padres over there. I bet you they do some serious damage. They would get. I mean, you know who Baltimore gets in the first round of the playoffs? They get if they make the playoff. If the season ended today, they'd be getting Houston in a best of 3 series.
And
you would have a team
Baltimore's
63-62 against a team 61-63. I mean, there's a great possibility the way things playing out. You have 2 below 500 teams in the postseason, and they play each other in the first round. Meanwhile, the Yankees and the Red Sox are going to have to duke it out in a best of 3.
What happened to Seattle is Cal Raleigh has just absolutely disappeared. He's batting $158 this season.
I don't want to shed a tear for the Dodgers. I really don't. Okay? But we're living in a world right now where the Dodgers have the 4th best record in Major League Baseball. Right? Because Tampa's got the second best. Milwaukee, then Tampa, then Atlanta, then the Dodgers. They're going to have to play a best of if the season ended today, they'd be playing a best of 3 series with some in the wild card. Meanwhile, if they were in the American League, they'd have a first round bye.
Mm-hmm. But going back to Hazy in the chat, Cal Raleigh hit 60 home runs last year.
Right.
He has 52 hits this season.
Not great. Bob.
That's what happened to Seattle.
I do want to get to the National League, but we only have a couple of minutes, so I don't want to start it. We'll table that for the 1:00 hour, and we'll get to an NFL training camp report. Aztecs scrimmage over the weekend, but AP Top 25 came out today.
Mm-hmm.
I find it hilarious that we continue to do preseason rankings that end up impacting the end of the year rankings, thinking that this is a good idea. Like, we can rank teams that we've never seen play yet. Your top 25 to start the season. By the way, if you look at last year's top 25, there's a handful of teams that weren't even close to finishing the top 25 at the end of the year. Ohio State's number 1 overall team right now in the AP top 25, followed by Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas. Jaden Daniels going to sue Texas for being number 5 in the country. Indiana, Miami, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Oklahoma is the top 10.
Somebody made a mod for college football now that gives everyone on LSU number 5.
I love it. Top 15, LSU, Texas Tech, Alabama, BYU, USC. This is the first time in 18 years Alabama opens the season not in the top 10 of college football.
And also USC and BYU are tied for 14th.
So USC is like the 15th, whatever. They got the same amount of votes. Michigan, Washington, Penn State, SMU, and Tennessee are the top 20. Utah, Iowa, Houston, Louisville, Missouri, top 25. San Diego State did not receive votes. They did get some votes in the coaches poll. I don't know who voted for them in the coaches poll, but they did get some votes in the coaches poll.
They got 2 in the coaches poll.
Just on the outside looking in, Clemson, Florida, Boise State, Arizona, TCU. Those are your top 30 teams, if you will. Navy got 10 votes. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
I like that. The top 25, like, it's also funny to me. Like, it's like they ranked 17 teams in the Big Ten and the SEC. 17 of the top 25 come from those 2 conferences, and I think a lot of it's just strictly their name. I really do.
By the way, North Dakota State, no votes.
They shouldn't.
Either way,
shouldn't get any votes.
They're not the number 26 team in the nation.
According to RJ Young, they might be, but not to anybody that's got a vote
or a brain.
Navy, South Carolina, Illinois, Oklahoma State, Vanderbilt, Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech, Minnesota, UNLV. Is every Power 4 school on that list, or at least Power 2? I feel like some voters just like throw names on there as soon as they get to like 20. They're like, yeah, we'll just throw some teams on there. I mean, Clemson, 26th. How many times we got to continue to rank?
They haven't been good.
No, they haven't. How many times we got to put like Louisville in the top 25? Missouri's in the top 25 every year. Why? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Is Washington really the 17th team in the country? I don't know. Here's the thing. Maybe we shouldn't do preseason rankings because it's stupid. I mean, USC has not played a single snap yet, and people are saying if they lose 2 games, like Lincoln Riley's going to get fired. I look at their schedule; they're going to lose 4 games, almost guaranteed. But they're the 14th best team in the country, tied with BYU. What's Texas Tech going to be like without Brennan Sorsby? They're going to be fine. Everything's fine. I agree with Go Aztecs in the chat. We're just glad that Florida didn't get their traditional top 15 ranking for no freaking reason. I mean, it's like almost like clockwork with the top 25 for the AP poll. It's like we got to have USC in the top 15. They never do anything. At least Texas has played better the last couple of years. Texas is another one of those schools, but AP top 25. When we come back, we'll talk about the National League and how the situation has changed for division runs, division races. We will also get to what San Diego FC did over the weekend. We'll get to your NFL training camp update, and we'll get you a preview of Padres and Mets coming up. All in the next hour. Braden Surprenant Show, Standing Urban Sports Station 97 for the Fan. Final hour of the Braden Surprenant Show. Staying at Someone Sports Station 97 through the Fan. We have tickets. We have tickets giveaway today, right?
Yes,
for
we do.
Luke Combs at Petco Park. Wow.
Next June.
Treaty Oak Revival. Lead into that. We got a lot of their stuff. We got a lot of Luke Combs stuff too. Our rejoiners. We'll be giving away tickets to Luke Combs and Treaty Oak Revival coming up in the next segment, if you will. Pay attention to that. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. The show is flown by. I can't believe we're already in the final hour of the show, leading you into Gwen and Chris. We had so much stuff that we haven't gotten to yet that we'll probably have to get to tomorrow. But the divisions have changed a little bit. The division races have changed. We talked about the American League on the other end. Let's talk about the National League. Truly remarkable.
Let's do that. Let's
How
talk
fast
about
this
the
has
National
happened.
League. All right. So, National League. Where is my National League? It is in here somewhere. There it is. All right. So Atlanta has just completely slammed the door. The Braves had a 56.9% chance of winning the division. That is now up to 94.6%. Phillies go from a 38.4% down to a 5.4% chance. Phillies went from being a team that looked capable of taking the division to one with only a 5.4% chance, according to Fangraphs. Did Philadelphia's collapse reveal the Braves are simply better, or did the Phillies miss their opportunity while Atlanta was still vulnerable?
I think Philly missed their chance. I'm not really a huge. Is this crazy to say? I'm not really a huge believer in the NL East teams right now.
No,
like I don't think Atlanta's like a world beater team. They've played a little bit better as of late, but like I don't necessarily think that
that lead.
They've
that
been
they
very
got out
hot
to.
and cold. They've been very hot and cold.
Yeah, that lead that Atlanta got out to is what won them the division. Philadelphia would have been on their heels had they not gotten off to as bad a start as they did. But Atlanta coming out of the gate as hot as they did is what saved their ability to win the division.
Yeah, and I don't think Philly's going to challenge Atlanta at all.
No.
I really don't. I mean, since the All-Star break, as mentioned, Braves 18-10, Phillies 12-15. I think Atlanta has just increased their lead so high, and I know they swept Minnesota this weekend. I'm don't guarantee that the Phillies make the playoffs. I'm out on the Phillies. I don't think they have what it takes to, make it through. I know they got good starting pitching, and Christopher Sanchez is going tonight against the Marlins, but it's hard for me to sit here and look at the way that the Padres are playing, the Diamondbacks are playing, and the Phillies are playing and be like, you know what, the Phillies are a team that I'm afraid of, because I'm not. Even though the Padres went 0-6 against the Phillies this year early in the season, I don't think the Phillies are scary. I really don't. And this division race is not overly surprising, if you will. That's a great comment in the YouTube chat, though. I just read that Five Guys is changing their name to Four Guys out of respect to Jaden Daniels. Talk about a gigantic miscalculation on their part, by the way.
Genius.
He's just getting cooked every single day on social media.
By everyone, too.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I don't know how many times I got to keep repeating that. National League Central.
Yes. Milwaukee is still in control, but Chicago is making things a lot more uncomfortable. The Brewers, going into the All-Star break, had a 79.4% chance. It's gone down a little bit, down to 72.2%. The Cubs have had a little bit of a bigger swing. They had a 15% chance to win the division. Now it's up to 27.8%. Is Milwaukee still clearly the team to beat, or has Chicago become the team no one wants to face in October?
I know the Cardinals just took 2 out of 3 from Chicago over the weekend. I still think the Cubs and Milwaukee took 3 of 4 from the Dodgers. I still think the Cubs are dangerous.
By the way, how about that debut from Joshua Baez?
Oh, my God.
Unbelievable.
I mean, the one thing, the first pitch he sees, it's a home run, is special enough. And then he hits 2 more home runs. That's crazy. What a crazy start to a career. Now, that means nothing for the whole rest of his career, but it's pretty impressive.
He had to have walked back into the dugout and been like, this major league stuff is easy. What are you guys doing?
Yeah,
what are you guys talking about?
This is ridiculous. What do you mean it's taking me this long to get up here? Why are you doing this?
Give me my Soto money now.
You guys would be in a division race right now if you pulled me up earlier. I don't really think I think the Brewers and the Cubs are going to do exactly what happened last year. Just roles are reversed. I believe in Chicago. I don't necessarily believe in the Brewers in terms of the division. I still think they're both going to be scary to deal with in the playoffs, but I like the way Chicago's played a lot more than I like the way Milwaukee's playing.
They have been very, very good and a very scary team to watch. Padres are making it interesting. Fangraphs, divisional race, the Dodgers with a 99.8% chance to win the division. It has gone down 99.6%. That is statistically going down, is it not? Meanwhile, the Padres are in full Dumb and Dumber mode. 0% chance to now a 0.3% chance. So you're telling me there's a chance. 2 questions really separate the Padres in this conversation. Can the Padres still win this division? And can the Padres make the playoffs and potentially become the most dangerous team in the postseason?
I think they can be a very dangerous team in the postseason because they're hitting their stride at the right time. They're finally getting the stars to star. They dug themselves into a little bit of a hole, obviously, at the beginning of the year, but they were still finding ways to win despite their stars not playing extremely well. They've helped out their rotation at the trade deadline. Hopefully Joe Musgrove can come back and contribute mightily to this team also. But I think if the Padres do make the playoffs, I think they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs because I think they have all the parts you need to be good in the postseason. In terms of getting there, I mean, it's going to be a grind here for the next 6 weeks, if you will, month and a half. In terms of the division, I think if you pull within 5 games before you play LA, you might have a chance. But you have to find a way to make it. I mean, they play in the second to last week of the year, so let's rephrase that. If you get to within 5 games over the next 2 weeks, I think you got a chance at the division. That gives you 2 weeks to gain 2 games in the standings. You're 7 games out right now. I just don't see this Dodgers team playing this poorly for this extended period of time. I don't see it. And they have a perfect week this week to get right with Colorado. They got Colorado this week. I mean, just looking at their schedule, I don't really see how they're going to continue to be this poor. I mean, they've played really poorly. They have not been very good, to say the least. I think if you can keep it close in the next couple of weeks, maybe. But the Dodgers have the Rockies this week, as I mentioned before. And as I finally pull up their schedule, I got Pittsburgh and Atlanta. I think that's interesting. They got a couple of days off in between. They go to Detroit, who's been and their month of September is not necessarily that difficult. St. Louis, okay. It's kind of interesting. St. Louis played a lot better. Washington's not very good. Cincinnati's not very good. They go to Miami, who's solid but not spectacular. Cincinnati's not good. The Giants aren't good. And then it's the Padres and the Giants. That's why their percentages are so high, even though they've made it a little bit closer. It's just, to me, unless you get to San Diego, Padres in LA, and at Dodger Stadium, and the Padres are like 2 games out or 3 games out or less, I think it's gonna be very difficult for them to catch the Dodgers in the division, unless LA does something incredibly dumb and just falls apart down the stretch.
And Kyle, you seen the mare of a series that Kyle Tucker had against Milwaukee?
He's been such a
0 for 19.
Underwhelming player.
0 for 19, 8 strikeouts. I think he has to be benched over the course of the weekend.
That guy's making like $60 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's that. And again,
does he have a contract opt-out?
I'm not
Is he going to
sure.
opt out of his deal?
I'm not sure. I can look real quick. Kyle Tucker. No, not that I can see. No,
I'm just kidding.
No, he does actually. He has player options in 28 and 29. So he's good. He's in for this year and next year, but the next 2 he's got options.
Yeah, I don't think he's opting out of those. Can't say he's opting out of those.
It's unreal, and that's what you get mad at. That is a crippling amount of money to be giving somebody, and just doesn't affect them.
We do have a game that's about to go final, at least in the top of the 9th inning. Cardinals lead the Reds 2-1.
Oh, that's odd.
Yeah, it's on right now. They're almost done.
They might have had that on
today.
all day.
They have a doubleheader today because they have a makeup. But the Cardinals are up 2-1 on the Reds here in the top of the 9th inning. Puts the Cardinals on a little bit of a winning streak there. The Padres still at this point have a comfortable lead over St. Louis at 3.5. Cardinals win right now before the Padres get underway, so it'll be a 3-game lead. But games today that matter for the Padres. The Cardinals-Reds game, not really. The real game that matters is at 3:40. It's Marlins and Phillies, where you have Jansen Junk going against Christopher Sanchez. The other one, too, is Arizona and Boston, which will get underway at 4:10. That will be another game to pay attention to, on top of, obviously, Padres and Mets. The other one that you want to keep a distance at is Cubs and White Sox. Cubs got beat up over the weekend against St. Louis, and they're within striking distance now. Frank, I would say the Chicago Cubs at 5 games back with like 6 weeks to play. That's something to monitor if the Cubs come back down to earth a little bit. But the way that they've been playing baseball, I know this weekend wasn't great. I think they're better. I think they have a better chance of catching Milwaukee than they do the Padres or Phillies catching Chicago.
I would agree. And I think you might have a little bit better of an opportunity to get that number 4 seed if it's Milwaukee. I don't think that's all that crazy. You handled Milwaukee quite well. Milwaukee got back against the Dodgers. But I think the Brewers, as it sits right now, I think are a little bit more vulnerable than the Cubs are. And again, as we spoke with Lane Grindle last week, the Brewers and Cubs play each other 7 times in the remainder of this season. It's kind of like what the Padres and Dodgers did last year, playing a lot late. So I think right now, again, your main focus is Philadelphia, but definitely keep an eye on what's going on with Milwaukee and Chicago for sure.
Objects in mirror may be closer than they appear. Padres got to keep playing good baseball, and they have the opportunity to do that against the next couple of opponents, including the New York Mets, who we're going to preview here in just a little bit. Over the weekend, though, to transition into some non-baseball, into some soccer, if you will, San Diego FC, big win over the weekend over LAFC. That's huge for them, and I thought this was one of the games we discussed last week out of the group in the next couple of weeks and the next couple of months, Frank. This was one of those measuring stick games, and so far, since coming back from the World Cup, San Diego FC has played a lot better than before the World Cup break.
Yeah, and they looked really good against LAFC as well. It took a goal in the 89th minute, penalty kick goal by Anders Dreyer, who later got a red card. So I believe Dreyer is going to be unavailable for the next match coming up. So that'll be fun. But yeah, I mean, as far as San Diego FC is concerned, they have looked and they have played a lot better. That defense that hurt them so much at the beginning of this season has certainly turned it back around. They held on possession. They had not necessarily the most momentum in the game, but the momentum swings certainly were a lot more dangerous in their favor. They controlled the first half. Second half was a little bit more LAFC, which is again more in line with what we've seen at a San Diego FC, not just this year, but last year as well. They tend to be more of a first half team. But a big win in very hostile territory up in LA.
Yeah, that's huge for San Diego FC. So they're able to knock down LAFC and now puts them in a position where, again, the thing is with this is I just feel like the season has been so long because of all the international breaks. There's still 15 games left in the regular season. I mean, this season started in February. You think that they have like 5 games left. They got to make the most of all of these games. They just got to the halfway point. So there's still plenty of time for them to really climb the standings in the leaderboard and get themselves in a playoff position, just like the Padres have had some ample of time to get themselves into a playoff position. But it's just been drastically different, like the way that Mikey Varas has been managing this team so far this year. Obviously, they've had a lot of maturity issues when it comes to like not committing red cards at the beginning part of the season. But it seems like they're starting to solidify and fix a lot of the problems that they had at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, they are starting to get back to where they were. And that's also a very big win as far as the standings are concerned, because LAFC currently sits third in the standings. And with that win, you now put yourself in a 3-way tie for 10th in the conference, which you're still out by a point, but still, I mean, you're right there within striking distance, and one win right now vaults you into that 8th position. So you would have the home play-in, you'd be hosting the play-in game for that final spot in the playoffs. So you're in a very good position right now and a lot of time to get to. It's certainly not out. You're not Kansas City. You're not FC. You're not Austin. You're not Atlanta United. You're not CF Montreal. You're in a very, very good spot as it sits right now. And all you need to do is just go back to playing your game.
We have tickets to give away for Luke Combs. Be the fifth caller. 833-288-973. 833-288-973. Fifth caller, you want a pair of tickets to Luke Combs at Petco Park on June 26, 2027. If you want ticket info, go to lukecombs.com. They will be open with Treaty Oak Revival, one of my favorite bands. So be sure to give us a call, 833-288-973. 833-288-973. Fifth caller wins tickets to Luke Combs and Treaty Oak Revival for next year, June 26, 2027. Should be a fun show. We'll announce the winner when we come back. $123 on a Monday. Padres baseball coming up sooner rather than later. East Coast trips. Gotta love the East Coast trips. So we'll have the show today and tomorrow, and Wednesday will be probably off, would be my guess.
We are off on Wednesday. Yes.
It's not going to be some like weird thing where I got to do like an hour show or something.
No,
probably not.
It is a 10-10 start.
That's fantastic. All of our guests join us in the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not big bank banking. It's better. Sam Levitt will join us for the final segment of the show today to talk some Padres baseball. Obviously, some big news today. New ownership for the Padres has been approved by the MLB owners. So there's a couple of things that need to happen this week. But sounds like there'll be a press conference on Monday of next week to talk with the new owners of the San Diego Padres. We had a wild first weekend in the NFL when it comes to preseason football games. We're going to quickly go through and get you our biggest takeaways of the weekend that was in the NFL.
All righty. So, Ty Simpson may have been the most impressive rookie quarterback so far. The Rams' first-round pick was the weekend's cleanest rookie quarterback performance, 21 of 25, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Did Ty Simpson make the Rams' quarterback situation a lot more interesting, or is this exactly what you should expect out of a first-round pick?
He's going against obviously a lot of backups and everything like that. I don't think it makes it interesting in a standpoint of like a quarterback controversy. I think it's good news for the future of the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, because there's only so many more years you got with Matt Stafford, and I don't know how many more years, if it's even years, if it's not just 1 year. So not totally shocked by that performance over the weekend. I think it's encouraging news for the Rams. I don't necessarily think it's like going to be a quarterback controversy in LA, though.
I do not believe so either.
Speaking of rookie quarterbacks,
yeah, there were
all
a
over
lot.
the place.
There were a lot of them. Drew Aller out in Pittsburgh threw 3 touchdown passes and looked comfortable running the offense. Fernando Mendoza was 10 for 16 and 97 yards and a touchdown. Cade Klubnik for the Jets was 7-5 for 56 yards, led the offense to a touchdown and a field goal in 2 series. Sam Howell was 8 for 12 and 94 yards and a touchdown for Dallas. Luke Altmaier in Detroit, 13 for 21 with 130 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. And Malik Willis was 4 for 5 passing, 43 yards, and a 9-yard rush in a touchdown drive. So
All brand new quarterbacks in particular areas.
Who looked like they understood the offense, made quick decisions, and operated the way his coaching staff wants him to.
I thought Tua was terrible over last week. Malik Willis was okay. He only had 5 passing attempts. Kyler Murray only had 3 attempts. They didn't really want to have him do a whole lot. Drew Aller looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Aller looked really good for Pittsburgh. 3 touchdowns, a comfortable run of the offense, as you mentioned. I think Drew Aller might be the name, but I also thought Fernando Mendoza looked really well as well. Obviously, being a number 1 pick, you should look pretty good when you're out there for the Raiders in their first preseason game. Again, a lot of different moving parts when it comes to the defenses they're going against. But I thought the 2 best quarterbacks of new faces and new places were Drew Aller and Fernando Mendoza.
DJ Moore already starting to look like what the Buffalo Bills want him to be as a receiver. Bills did not need a huge workload from their new receiver. They needed evidence that he could become Josh Allen's number 1 target, and he definitely did that. He only played 10 snaps, but caught 3 passes for 61 yards on 4 targets. So did Buffalo just give Josh Allen the missing piece that could make the offense even more dangerous?
I don't. I think it helps that offense, but I don't think it's like the number 1 receiver that they're expecting him to be. It's 1 drive in the preseason. It's not anything that crazy. But if Moore's role looks like this when the starters actually play, then I think you should pay attention. But I'm not sold on it yet. I wasn't sold on it when they made the move. Buffalo's notoriously gone out and got guys on the back end of their careers when it comes to receiver. Maybe that's what they can afford. Good start for DJ Moore. I'm not necessarily buying it for a full season, though.
Bills did beat the Panthers in that game 29-14. Headed out to Vegas.
We talked about Mendoza. I thought he looked pretty good. But Kirk Cousins is technically the starter there.
The quarterback battle is already something to watch. Kirk Cousins went 5 of 6 for 50 yards and a touchdown in his only drive. That's basically what you wanted from him. Mendoza then took over, and he looked okay. 10 for 16, 97 yards, a touchdown. No huge disaster en route to a Cardinals 27-14 victory. Do you judge Mendoza by the overall stat line or how he responds when NFL defenses start getting after him?
I think you got to do it based on how he responds. I think it was a sign that they obviously made a good pick. I think it was a good sign I think it's exciting for Raiders fans that he is the future, but I wouldn't want to play him at all this year if I'm the Raiders. I think you let Kirk Cousins play, let him take the bulk of the beating. Don't throw your kid out there to drown, if you will, in the games with the defenses they're going to have to go to. Good solid start to his career for Mendoza. Again, it's a preseason game, but I don't think it changes anything. I think you got to roll with Cousins still until you start building up the rest of that offense and that offensive line to set up Mendoza for success. And I think the best way to do that is by letting him rest the first year.
Moment of silence in the chat for Augie, who once again has killed comedy. Washington has a potential undrafted running back story. Robert Henry Jr. was one of the weekend's better under-the-radar performances, 75 yards on 12 carries and a touchdown. But still, coming in as an undrafted free agent, going to shine a spotlight for sure. Could an undrafted rookie force his way into Washington's roster, and do preseason stars actually earn roster spots? Or do coaches already know who they're keeping before these games are even played?
I think these guys make roster spots. I don't think they've made up their mind. I think they have an idea of who they would potentially want, but I think there's some guys that play their way onto rosters, especially from a special team standpoint and an athlete standpoint. So there's plenty of preseason stars that make an impact and make a roster. And here's the other thing too, Frank. If they don't make the current team's roster, they make another roster because teams need players, especially impact players, and they're willing to take a chance on guys like this. So I think I think this is a good showing for the young guy, and you're going to see some of these players. They're fun to watch. That's what makes Hard Knocks so fun.
I think this is going to be the last one that we're going to have time for. San Francisco has another rookie receiver making noise. Deshaun Stribling, sure, might be one of the names to circle. He played the first 3 series against Tennessee, starting defensive backs, and finished 7 catches with 62 yards. Is Stribling becoming one of those rookies who goes from camp standout to legitimate contributor?
He could be. I mean, he's a young player, rookie receiver. San Francisco needs to get a little bit younger. He had a 32-yard over-the-shoulder catch, an 11-yard catch and run. He had consistent production throughout the 3 series that he played in. He was going against some better competition, albeit it's a preseason game. You're not going to see the full dress rehearsal until week 3, which is like the last week of the NFL. So, but it's a good start. It's a good start, and I think the Niners could use a player like him, especially on the offensive side. No Brandon Ayuk. Deebo Samuel's up there in age. George Kittle's been hurt a lot. Christian McCaffrey continues to battle through injuries in his time with San Francisco. So they need to get younger and a lot faster, and he's a piece that could potentially do that, but you're going to need a little bit more in terms of a sample size. And that'll do it for our NFL training camp report. We'll have more tomorrow. Hard Knocks back tomorrow with the Seattle Seahawks. We'll have some stuff to talk about that as well. When we come back, Sam Levitt will join us for the final segment. We'll talk everything in the baseball world, especially with the San Diego Padres, what this new ownership means for San Diego, and the latest on what we got from that from earlier today as we kind of reset everything in our next segment, the final segment of the show. Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Summer Sports Station, 97 through the Fan. 1:40 on a Monday. So much talking about. We talked about so much today. We didn't even get to everything yet. And we won't get to everything today. I mean, the Aztecs had a scrimmage over the weekend. We'll talk about that tomorrow on a Tuesday, if you will. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show. Standing as Urban Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. All of our guests join us on the SDCCU Fan Hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better. We did have some breaking news earlier today in which the Padres have announced that MLB has voted, the owners have, unanimously to approve of Kwanzaa Jones and Jose E. Feliciano and being the new ownership for the San Diego Padres. It sounds like we'll be having a press conference about that later on next week. It will be Monday at 1 o'clock. We'll go commercial free. It will be on during our show. And down there live, most likely, will be our Sam Levitt, who now joins us in studio to kind of help finish up the show and talking about a lot of different things in the Padres world. Sam, good to have you with us, getting ready for Padres and Mets this week after coming off of a pretty good take it 2 out of 3 as the Padres continue to take care of business against teams with a losing record.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good weekend. Obviously, Saturday was a little disappointing the way they got shut down by Cancillo and the and the Guardians bullpen. See, I'm not ready for air yet. The Guardians bullpen. Just had lunch, that's why.
What'd you have for lunch?
I had Chick-fil-A.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, spicy chicken sandwich, fries.
It's getting them. It's the pepper and the chicken sandwich.
So sorry about that.
It's worse than Ben Higgins when he had the atomic barbecue wing that almost made him suffocate on air during the roundtable.
Oh, that was an epic.
That had a Carolina Reaper pepper.
Oh, really?
In it. Oh,
wow,
yeah. If you like spicy, then that's definitely the place for you to go.
Yeah. I thought, look, it was a good weekend series. They should have won. And yesterday, kind of a ho-hum win, which I thought was good. Casey Mize was really good. Offense showed up. And, especially considering the rain situation, felt like, a game you just wanted to have kind of a normal, solid, well-pitched game. And they got exactly that. So this time of year, you want to win series. And good to see them bounce back after Saturday, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the way that, the Philadelphia swept Minnesota this weekend. And Minnesota had a big lead on Sunday. You thought maybe you could gain a game on both Philly and Arizona because Arizona dropped it to Atlanta. Philly's got Miami this week. Arizona's going to be in Boston to take on the Red Sox. But this is a Padres team now, Sam, that you've obviously watched almost every single day. They look like they are a little bit more of a complete roster than they were at the beginning of the season. I think you're starting to see that now with the way the starting pitching is able to get you quality starts. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about like maybe one quality start every 2 weeks, and now they're getting a lot more, which has really helped this team out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, the additions you saw it yesterday, right? And you've seen it now over the last couple of weeks. There is just a value to having reliable, professional starting pitchers in the building. And to me, that's what you've seen the last couple of times out from Casey Mize. I mean, yesterday, a good example, nothing flashy. He's not going to overwhelm you. He can get it up to 95, 96 when he wants to, but there is value to just having reliable, professional, veteran type starting pitching. And to me, that's what they got in Mize and Ray. And look, you mentioned it, Braden, the more complete nature of the roster. Part of that feeling is no doubt just the fact that the offense has been so much better. I mean, to me, that's the story of this season. To this point, you can talk about the additions of Mize and Ray. Certainly the bullpen is the strength of this team. It continues to be the number one strength and I think separator for this team. That goes back to last year. That goes back to 2024 even. But what I don't know that you saw coming was this total 180 by the offense. Their ability to just simply hit the fastball has made all the difference in the world. I mean, it really is remarkable. And, there is something too when guys are constantly saying back of the baseball card and we're going to figure it out. It feels like we've learned, and maybe we forget sometimes that usually does bear out. It's odd that it doesn't. And it certainly has kind of flipped in that direction the last month and a half, 2 months, and they've just been a totally different offense. So to me, that's been the difference, is this offense has been so much more productive. They've been a totally different unit. Now, I think the question is, can they continue that into the month of September? Can they continue that hopefully into the month of October? I think in order for the Padres to get to where I think we all hope they can go, they're going to have to keep on hitting. But it's been unbelievably encouraging what Fernando's done, what Merrill's done. I know Manny's been slumping lately, but he had, his stretch where he turned things around, the contributions from Campusano and France, obviously, and Rengifo. That's the story of the season to me, is the way this offense has done a total 180.
They went for, like, when we were talking about how, this playoff, they're not going to be able to go trade for everything. They're going to need their stars to star. They're going to need their players that they know that they paid for to be, to carry the team. You were hoping for, like, one would hope for the Padres to go from being last in offense to like middle of the pack, and it would be a drastic difference. But the fact that they went worst to first is honestly astounding. That they were able to do that. I think it leads to, it's great that they did that, and I think a lot of Padres fans are stoked about that. It also is a little frustrating, though, at the same time, knowing that the Padres are capable of being a top 10 offense in Major League Baseball, and it took them so long to get to this point.
Look, I don't know what happened in the first 2.5 months where you were seeing this offense top to bottom, and especially the stars struggle the way they did. Braden, I'm with you. It's a remarkable turnaround. What they've done just by the numbers, and they keep, everybody keeps talking about the numbers against the heater in particular. To me, it's inexplicable how you could be so poor at hitting the fastball and then do literally just a total 180 on a dime against, velocity, essentially, in overall offensive production. But maybe it's as simple to boil it down to Fernando started hitting home runs. Jackson Merrill started looking like, the rookie version of himself. Manny heated up. They continued to get the contributions from France and some other guys, and, Campusano and Fermin starting to hit. Maybe it's as simple as that. You just look at individuals and you see all these guys starting to play a lot better, and that collectively leads to, a turnaround. But, and I've, said it over the course of the past couple of weeks, this has been great. They've won 17 of 22. They're playing great. However, even after all that, they've got a game lead on a playoff spot today. So, I've alluded to it a little bit. There's not a ton of room for stumble here. There isn't. Like, you really can't afford to have a bad week and a half, 2 weeks, or you could very, very quickly be a few games out with not that much time remaining. And I'll tell you what, Phillies, I know they've had an up and down year. They're a good team. Diamondbacks are dangerous. You watch that team night in, night out. They swing it well. They're going to get healthier. You got the Cardinals and the Marlins still hanging around. Last I looked, the Cardinals were winning again today. So the point is, there is still a long way to go, and the Padres have done a marvelous job at making up the ground and sitting in a playoff position this morning. But there's still a long way to go. They got to keep hitting.
Yeah, about 6 weeks left in the season. Obviously, we're talking with Sam Levitt, the Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show host. Also does the Hilmul Casino Resort Padres postgame show in earlier today because of the fact that we're on the East Coast and a little bit earlier of game times. I do want to talk a little bit about something that kind of you alluded to about, like, and I think it's an interesting topic of discussion. And Kevin Acee put it in his daily newsletter today. Mason Miller's 13 1/3 innings away, or 13 2/3 innings away from his career high of innings. Adrian Morejon is 7 1/3 innings away from his career high in innings. And now it's an interesting. We saw Bradgley Rodriguez close out a game over the weekend. It's going to be difficult to see how they manage trying to keep Morejon and Miller fresh for October, while not actually having a clinch spot in October yet, because, you can't afford to throw a Yuki Matsui in a save situation and then have things go awry, because you're preparing for October. It's almost like not throwing a pitcher in a tournament in the must-win game because you're thinking about the games down the road. It's a difficult position to be in, but based on the way that this team has handled Manny Machado this year and what they said at the beginning of the season, they wanted him as fresh as possible for October. I would imagine they're probably going to start finding ways to have other pieces to this insane bullpen pick up some very much high leverage situations, especially against some teams coming up that have losing records.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think it's a tough spot because you're probably not going to have a playoff spot locked up until towards the very end of the regular season with the way this is trending. So I don't know that you're going to have tons of opportunity to rest these guys. Look, I do think Friday's game, the win in Cleveland, probably a bit of a good recipe for what you probably want to try to do on at least some days, or at least a couple of days, right, before the end of the season, to buy a little extra rest for guys like Morahone and Miller when, they basically went into that game. And as we know, all these games are important right now. They went into that game saying, we want to stay away from Adrian and Mason, really at all costs. And they did. And the Padres are fortunate enough to have a quality enough bullpen top to bottom where they can do it. I mean, look, you mentioned, innings numbers. Bradgley Rodriguez is going to soar past that innings number from his career high a couple of years ago in the minor league. So, he's another guy I think you have to watch and understand, like, he's going to go into uncharted territory, as are, Mason and Adrian. In all likelihood, based on the numbers you just gave. So, yeah, I do think it would be wise for them to try to keep those guys as fresh as possible. How much can they do that, considering they need those guys just to make the postseason? To be seen. But, it's not just on Craig Stammen and Ruben Niebla and the coaching staff to keep those guys fresh and come up with strategies kind of like they did on Friday to keep those guys fresh. But it's also, I think, an onus on the offense. I mean, yesterday, a good example, right? If they don't tack on the way they did, then you're definitely seeing Mason Miller in that game. But yesterday, you tacked on some runs. You got the game to a point where you got to a 4-run lead, a 5-run lead, and then Mason can sit down. And you only had to use Adrian Morahone. So, that meant you got a series win without even touching Mason Miller over the weekend, which I think, it's like any time they're going to be able to win a game and not use Morahone and Miller in particular, it's going to feel like a bonus on top of the win. So I think you're also trying to stack up those kinds of wins as much as you can. But, Braden, look, there's no way around it. Morahone and Miller in particular are so important to this team. I mean, it's hard to see a scenario where they go on a deep run and it is not very much predicated on those two guys pitching, number one, a lot, and being incredibly, incredibly good. Like, could you see scenarios in the postseason, depending on the game, where Adrian Morahone goes more than 2 innings and Mason Miller goes 2, and you're shortening games, down to 5 innings or even less, based on the bullpen you have? That would seem to be part of the formula in the postseason. You got to get there first, which is kind of part of the conundrum.
Last thing for you, Sam, because we only got about a minute, and I know it's not giving you a whole leeway to give your thoughts, but like a lot of people with today's news, with the new ownership group going through, a lot of people want to see like one big move, one big splash. What do you think this new ownership group does when they can actually start moving things around? It's kind of interesting because the offseason is going to be weird for them. It's not like a traditional offseason with labor negotiations, but it seems like they're very much in a position where they really want to win. Yeah,
I mean, they've said all the right things. I'm excited for this new era, right? I mean, certainly they've said the right things. And I'm personally excited to hear from them at the press conference on Monday. I think we'll have kind of our usual interviews afterwards. I think I know they're working on it behind the scenes right now. So I'm looking forward to meeting them, Jose E. Feliciano and Kwanzaa Jones, and hearing from them. And not only hearing about their vision for the Padres, but the community and the team's relationship to the city and all of it. I mean, it's an incredibly important responsibility, and I'm sure they're well aware of that. So I think it's incredibly exciting, a new era of ownership. And you're right. It's going to be a bit of an odd offseason to take over when you talk about lockout and the CBA negotiations and all of that. But we'll see, kind of how it all shakes out and, what they can do, based on kind of what happens with all the labor negotiations. But I think it's going to be pretty exciting. I'm excited for it.
Sam, appreciate the time as always. Have a fun show. For Equal Water SoCal Padres pregame show. For the Braden Surprenant show, I'm Braden Surprenant. He's Frank Marchese. Talk to you tomorrow.
Padres.